Great. Welcome, everybody. Hi. Umineko time. Gonna probably take a little bit of time to get started here. Maybe do some dolls to warm up for today. Hope everyone's having a good day. It's Thursday. Kind of chilling. Have some dolls start today. Anyone know Loldle? The doll for League of Legends. So you type like a champion. Let's say we say like Echo. Right? And then it gives you like... So essentially the only thing we have is that it's a male melee champion. And it came out before 2015. So male melee champion that came out before 2015 that is not human. Does not use mana. Is not from Zon. Is not a jungle or a middle. This actually narrows it down quite a bit. This is probably Mordekaiser. Ah, close. Okay. So it's a male top. That's melee. Not a human or a revenant. Not a mana or shield champion. Came out after 2010. Could be Gnar. Looks again. Okay, oh, because Gnar is also ranged. Yeah. Okay, came out before 2014, but after 2010. Is a Yordle, is a male top, melee, Rumble. Yeah. Fuck. The Dance of Blades. That's gotta be Katarina. Nobody else would say that. Ability. What champion has this ability? Oh, that's Garen. That's his E, right? No, it's his Q. Ah, I didn't read it. Oh. Cloud. Moj, Akali. Wow, okay, that was easy. Nice. Flash art. This is Twitch with his gangster skin. No? Timer? Is that a turret? No? Not MF, is it? Buddha. Heavy Rumble, Court. Who else has guns? I have no idea. I'm just gonna keep zooming out until we find it. And clearly their name doesn't start with an A. I'm not seeing this. Oh, it's a Poro? This is Braum? Gangster Braum? Ah. Or what do they call it? Crime City Braum. Little connections. Let people get in here, you know. Give them some time. Low. Trotter. Moon. Speaker. Real deck. Things with rolls. Toilet paper. Sunscreen. Projector. Mirror. Moon, globe, egg. Things that are spherical or round. Wheel. Projector. Speaker. Screen. Parts of a home entertainment system. Probably not real. Screen, projector, speaker. Maybe it is real. Parts of a home entertainment system. Ah, look at that. Classic movie theater equipment. Let's see. Storyboard. Post board. Floorboard. Storyboard, floorboard. Oh, have you not seen Connections before? Yeah, big fan. It's just a way to just like go for a bit. Level-headed, egg-headed. Wind streak. Moon, globe, egg. Sun, things that are round or spherical. Not even close. Mirror, toilet paper, squares, toilet paper roll. Egg, head, toilet paper, mirror, things in a bathroom, floor, level-headed, egg-headed, globe-headed, sunburn, sunscreen, globe, rotting, deck of cards, storied floor, host, man, I am like stumped. Floorboard, post board, that doesn't work. Storyboard, floorboard, storyboard, toilet paper board, mirror board. Mirrors are reflective. Things that shine. Streak. Sun, mirror, egg. There's no way. Level. Post. Okay, a post, a story. A reel would have worked for that. A streak and a level. Things on social media. Not even one off. Globe, egg, moon. No, because that wasn't one off before. Streak. Story, post. Post, sun, globe, story, newspapers. One away. Post, sun, and globe are newspapers. Daily. This is like New York Post, Washington Sun. Level? I'm dead. Tier. Deck, floor, level, story. Newspaper. It was newspaper names. Globe, mirror, post, and sun. And prank verbs. Egg, moon, streak, and toilet paper. Okay, it's Umineko time. Thank you for indulging me. Just wanted to give some folks some time to shuffle in. Oh, right, recap. What happened? So Kinzo, aka Goldsmith, has started the first Twilight, has initiated the first Twilight, and has killed, I believe it was Natsuhi, Ava, Hideyoshi, Genji, Rudolph and Kiri. Got here just in time. Welcome, welcome, Ryuko. So, killed these 6. Kinzo, aka Goldsmith, has done this. I have the hunch here. I have the impression that this telling of what happened on Rokkenjima is Maria's telling, because it seems like this is a lot of Maria's imagination here. But I think we're from Rosa's perspective now. Silent, black, cold, painful. Rosa regained consciousness bit by bit, and the first thing she thought was that it would have been better if she hadn't. After all, with her body this cold and hurting, the pain grew the more her consciousness returned. It felt like she'd been sleeping on ice-cold marble in the darkness, laying face down for a long time. Ah, this is why I always tell myself, even if it's just for a nap, I've got to at least grab a sofa. I know that, if I naively try to close my eyes for just a second and end up sleeping on the floor or in the study chair, it'll hurt my body later and make things difficult. That's interesting. Rosa has thought about falling asleep in random places before. Perhaps because she works herself so hard. Perhaps she has some kind of sleepwalking or, second personality while she's asleep. Since I slept on such a cold and hard floor, even my bones are ice cold. Since I slept on such a hard and cold floor, the half of my face pressed down against it hurts a lot. If I were to look in a mirror right now, I'm sure I'd see an embarrassing mark. I didn't think that just rubbing it would make the mark disappear, but I stroked the hurting side of my face anyway, trying to smooth it over. I wonder, where is this? I thought it was pitch black, but it looks like it isn't. After all, I can faintly see my own body. Without a doubt, there was some source of light. But even if I looked up at the ceiling, or else the sky, there was only an expansion of blackness, and I couldn't see a proper light. My body alone was slightly lit, whereas everything else was sunk in darkness. That's what this world was like. It was almost as though Rosa alone had been abandoned in a forgotten world. As her mind grew clearer, she started getting nervous about why she was all alone in a lonely place like this. When she was about to call out, asking if anyone was there, she heard the of footsteps coming towards her. They were light footsteps, so she thought it was probably a kid. She didn't sense anything disturbing, so she wasn't afraid. But they also weren't Maria's footsteps. So, wondering who in the world would be in the darkness like this, she stared in the direction of the footsteps that the footsteps were coming from. As she did, a faint, approaching silhouette came into view. Takutaro? It looked like a child, much younger than Maria. Who is it? I don't know this kid. But the expression on his face was like a lost child separated from his parents. As a parent with a daughter herself, Rosa felt as though her chest had been torn apart. Uryu. Ah! The instant the kid muttered that infantile word, she felt the pain in half of her face that had been started hurting from the cold floor, as though it had been pierced by a long, thin, hard needle. Without thinking, she pressed her hand against that side of her face. Are you alright? Does it still hurt? Thanks. I'm fine, little guy. Where are we? It's really cold. Come this way. You mustn't stay here. The child took my other hand and pulled with a grim expression on his face. Rosa didn't have a clue what was going on. However, a single honest expression on a child can often tell the truth better than 100 words from an adult. She didn't know the situation, but even so, she dashed along with him, still being pulled. But this is a world where nothing could be seen in the darkness except for their own forms. It didn't really feel like she was moving forwards. Even though she was running, she couldn't even feel any wind. It was as though she was inside a nightmare, that kind of unreal sensation. So even though I ran, I couldn't maintain my sense of balance, and my legs got tangled, and I fell. Even in a world that didn't feel real, the pain of smashing my face against the cold, hard floor was reality itself. Uryu, are you okay? I'm sorry. My head hurts. When the kid said that infantile word, Uryu, pain like being struck with needles ran through my head again. Wait a tick. No, there's no way, right? There's no way Rosa and Maria are the same person, right? There's no way. Even though it had only happened twice, I was somehow unable to understand that the child's world was the cause of my pain. So I said so frankly, I'm sorry. Could you stop saying Uryu? Wow. Wait a second. Didn't I tell you to stop? Sorry. I had a feeling that this child's apology caused a sharp pain in my forehead this time. What is this child? I know there's no malice in him, but when I'm around him, my head hurts. Are you okay? Let's go quickly. You mustn't stay here. Why shouldn't I be here? Hey, where exactly is this? Who are you? And where's your mama? The one who made me is you, Mama. Yeah, she knows who he is. What if... Dude, what if Rosa had another child? And... like... no, I don't know. We just gotta read. The child stared at me with round eyes. This kid's mama is me? Who? Who is this kid? I don't remember at all. Did you forget about me? You made me. Wait a second. Stop kidding around. Maria is my only child. Where is Maria? Where is she? Maria? I suddenly grew nervous about Maria not being there. Why am I all alone in a place like this? Where is Maria? I'm only able to be me because Maria's there for me. Maria is here, but she's not Maria now. It's better that you don't meet with her now. Better for your sake, and Maria's as well. For Maria's sake as well. Escape. Huh? What are you saying? Where is Maria? Maria? Maria's gonna find you. Come this way, quickly. The child pulled on my hand again. He was probably pulling me in the opposite direction from Maria. So I stopped walking. Let go. Oh, Evan, you missed me. I did the connections from today on stream. What a shit connections. Holy. I got one of them. It was so bad. Dude, that connections was ass. I got one. Let's go. Just who are you? What gives you the right to call me Mama? Mama is the one who made me. Did you forget? For Maria's birthday present. You made me with your own hands. Did you forget? You couldn't be. Are you Maria's Sakutaro? Yes, the lion stuffed animal that Maria made. A fierce sharp pain struck me. It came from the palm that he grasped with his hand. When I knocked his hand away without thinking and looked at my palm, a hole the size of a thumb had opened there, and deep brown blood gushed out. It was a hole so big that I could see through to the other side. Whoa. Uryu, are you okay? Are you okay? What's wrong? Sakutaro noticed my wound and panicked. As far as I could tell by looking at him, he couldn't understand why my hand had sustained a serious injury. But in my eyes, it felt like he'd been injured because he grabbed my hand. Regardless of whether there was malice in him, I understood that this child was something that would do harm to me, and he instantly seemed eerie. Go away. You have nothing to do with me. Sakutaro was just a disgusting, crappy stuffed animal, right? I don't know you. I'm not your mama. Go away. Disappear. Slowly, the base of his neck was sliced in a horizontal line. It gaped open and pitch black insides peeked out. No blood poured from it. Only an empty blackness peeked out. Whoa. Then, from the insides of the gash, cotton snow poured out, and bits of cotton scattered. As the bits of cotton scattered, he slumped over. Then, all that remained was a crumpled yellow cloth, and bits of cotton that looked like sticky crushed cotton candy. Sakutaro. A lion stuffed animal. Without a doubt, these were the remains of the Sakutaro stuffed animal I tore apart on that day, while overcome by my emotions. The instant I'd realized that, a long, sharp shriek that could rupture an eardrum tore the world apart. Yeah? like a flood from a broken dam or like a broken TV, Maria cried out in a high-pitched voice. Her voice, which made the ears throb, brought up two emotions in me. One was regret. Yeah, I was overcome by my emotions and went overboard. It was a mother's desire to kneel down right away, hold Maria's head, cry with her, and apologize. In actual fact, I did that right away. I held Maria's head and apologized, crying. But Maria didn't stop crying. On the contrary, she rejected me, the one who had torn her closest friend apart, and pushed me away forcefully with both hands. I had been on my knees in an unnatural position, so I fell backwards easily. Maria scraped together the yellow scraps of cloth and cotton bits, buried her face in them, and cried even more. Watching that, another emotion welled up. It welled up rapidly, and then it burst. After all, she refused to make up with me, even though I'd apologized. And there was nothing else I could do now anyway, and it was all Maria's fault in the first place. Dude, Rosa is fucked up. Since she's too busy playing with stuffed animals all the time like this, she can't make any friends, and that's why people treat her like a freak. This is a perfect opportunity to give her some instructive guidance. After all, it's not like I was pampered all the time. Whoa. Everything eventually breaks, is stolen, is destroyed by someone. Even I had lots of toys and treasures stolen, broken, and mocked, and then thrown away by my brothers and sister and father and mother. But when I cried about that, while I might have shed a few tears, not once did I sob like this and trouble my parents. Throw a tantrum, get mad, hit the floor and kick and make a racket. Even though I always wanted to, I thought I'd get in more trouble if I did, but I always held it back. And because I held it back, that I was able to become the wonderful adult I am now. Oh my god. Naruhodo. At that moment, I felt something strange. The same feeling as when you use a tool recklessly and it finally breaks so that only the base is left. But I wasn't using a tool. I had just been repeatedly hitting Maria's head with both hands. Did she kill Maria? So I looked at my hands. From my wrists onwards, my hands had broken off. Splintered. Oh, okay. She's like hallucinating. My hands had broken off, splintered, and disappeared, as though the only part of my arms had become ceramic. No. Oh, hold on. Banger alert. This music hits so hard. No, as though all of me from wrists onwards had suddenly become ceramic, had broken and fallen. They must have gotten filled with cracks because I hit Maria too much before falling off. After all, look. Aren't both of my wrists lying smashed by my feet? Oh yeah, she's tripping. She's off the goop. There was no pain, but the shocking sight of my hands breaking off from the wrists onwards made me scream. What's happening? What is this? My hands. My hands, my hands, my hands. Whoa. This way, you won't be able to hit me anymore. 2 bots in a row, yeah. We sniped them both. Thank you, Saribot. Ignoring my confusion, Maria spoke with an icy voice, slowly moving her hands away from her head, where they had been defending against my barrage. What's happening? Come on. My hands. What did you do, Maria? What is this? What on earth is this? Behind Maria's back, a black silhouette had appeared. It was the silhouette of an adult. Who? You already know who it is. The goat in which form? If she'd used those hands for patting her daughter's head, flipping through picture books, or making warm meals, it may have been worth leaving them on. Mama hit my head more than she patted it. She never opens picture books. She doesn't even make me food. I go buy it myself. But I mustn't go to the same store more than once. I mustn't have my face remembered. I mustn't talk to the policeman. Why? Why is that? Is it my fault? Am I not allowed to have Mama pat my head, have picture books read to me, or eat dinner with Mama? Why not? Why not? I didn't do anything wrong. It isn't my fault. It's Mama's. Mama wouldn't play with me, but Sakataro did. He even read books. He watched TV and he ate meals with me. He was a much, much better friend than you were. I'm not proud of it, Maria. But what am I supposed to do? I'm busy with work. Oh, man. Sorry, I have to pull this. I know this is an intense moment, but holy shit, does this hit close to home right now? Just being like, using work as an excuse for everything, which is totally something that I do. I need to not use work as an excuse for everything. I need to take a step back from work. You know that, right? It was unavoidable. There's nothing I can do. True enough. It was unavoidable. Unavoidable that you'd injure your daughter, tearing her heart apart and making her tears run with blood. In that case, well, there's no avoiding the same thing happening again. Right here, right now. Come, Maria. Enough of the excuses from a woman who calls herself a mother. Can you forgive her or not? Is she innocent or guilty? I won't forgive her. Mama is guilty. I'll make Mama meet the same fate she gave to Sakataro. Take Mama from the seam at the neck and tear her apart so we can see the cotton inside her. Cold. Maria's eyes ominously flashed blue. In that instant, invisible, massive arms stuck their fingernails out and tightly grasped Rosa's entire body. And the bones all over her body made a sound like twigs being stepped on. They cracked readily and broke apart. Rosa had understood vaguely. The massive arms were probably her own arms, from the time that she'd torn Sakataro apart. From a stuffed animal's perspective, her arms certainly would have been this massive. So she imagined what could happen next. The sharp nails stuck deep into the base of her neck, and she heard the skin tearing with her own ears. Then, as the two witches watched over her, Rosa's flesh was split in two, top and bottom. When Sakataro had been torn apart, bits of cotton had flown about like snowflakes, but in Rosa's case, something like black, thick tar came out, filthily flying all over the place. There wasn't even a trace of red blood. It was something black, filthy and thick. It was probably what a bloodless, tearless human kept inside their body. Whoa. This is incredible. Hideous. What filthy insides. Splendidly done, Maria. Well then, is this enough for your revenge? Can you forgive your mother now, or not? Innocent or guilty? I cannot forgive her. Still can't forgive her. She's guilty. When Beatrice brandished her pipe cane. Oh, one sec, sorry. Okay. When Beatrice brandished her pipe cane, gold butterflies seeped up and restored Rosa's broken flesh in an instant. Feel the depths of your sin, which cannot be repaid by a single human life. And remember your own great sin. Come, try to remember. Remember the scale of your sin. Hello? Is it Mama? When will you get home? I'm sorry. I'm busy with work today, so I'm staying over. Staying for work again? Looks like work is tough for you again today, Mama. Yeah. Sorry. I really am busy. I'll be holed up in the company the whole time. I can't even get a breath of outside air. Mama just can't finish her job quickly this time. Unless I give them a better design, I won't be given another job. That's how tough this work is. So, I'll just have to take some time. Yeah. I understand. I'll be a good girl and watch over the house, so do your best at work. Finish it quickly and come back, okay? Thank you for understanding about Mama's work. I promise I'll buy a delicious cake tomorrow and take it home. I don't need cake. Instead of taking time to go to the cake store, I'd be happy if you just came home that much sooner. Oh, don't worry. I'll come back quickly. I promise. But let's have some delicious cake together. And drink delicious tea together. Let's read a new picture book. Let's play with that wolves and sheep puzzle I bought the other day. Both of us together. I promise. Yeah, promise. I'll be waiting. Do your best at work, Mama. Oh. It's a lonely story, but this isn't this mother-daughter love wonderful? With both looking out for the other? Do you see any problem with it, Maria? Rosa? I kept that promise, didn't I? The next evening, didn't I do as promised, buying a cake and returning earlier than usual? That's not it. That's not it. I knew. That evening, a pay-on-delivery package came from Mama, but there wasn't enough money in the wallet. So I called Mama's company to ask what to do. I was told only to call at special times, but I thought it'd be bad if the package was something important for your work. So I called. Then I was told that Mama had the day off. I was told that it had been decided long ago that Mama would have that day off, and that she'd gone far away to play. I knew. The whole time, I knew Mama was lying. But you know what? Sakataro scolded me, saying that it wasn't true. Every day, Mama was very busy with work. There was no way she'd abandon Maria and play. He said that person who told us Mama had the day off must have made some kind of mistake. That's what Sakataro said. So I believed it. I believed it. I love Mama. I love her. Of course Mama says she loves me. You know, she loves me. Yeah, me too. I love you, Maria. Rosa let out a deep sigh. Maybe she felt the weight of her words. Then she set the receiver on the bedside phone down. The dark room made the starry sky on the ground below the window stand out even more beautifully. On the table in front of the terrace was a very cold wine cooler, and the other side shared a glass with and the one she shared a glass with was gazing at the scene below. You didn't tell your daughter you were on vacation? I told her once, but she was so noisy that I decided not to tell her anymore. It was less work that way. Dude, leave now. This is like a giga red flag. The visual novel really makes one think of what the logical side works once you take the magic side out. Yeah, I like that a lot. Like, everything can technically be explained without magic. If you were worried about your daughter, you didn't have to force yourself to put this on your schedule, right? But that way, we'd never get our schedules to match. Didn't I say not to worry about that? The slender middle-aged man clad in a white robe gave a small sigh. Rosa reacted instantly to that slight action. Come on. Let's not talk about my daughter. It'd be a waste of this precious wine. I find you fascinating as both a woman and a human being. But for that very reason, I feel bad about taking so much of your time that it strains your relationship with your daughter. Don't I always tell you not to worry about my relationship with my daughter? I try not to talk about her when I'm alone with you, okay? I wouldn't even have phoned from here if it weren't for the noisy drunk laughing stupidly in the lobby downstairs. Rosa, can you reconsider taking sudden vacations like this in the future? For your daughter's sake? Isn't it enough if we only meet when our schedules match? Our schedules will never match up that way, right? And I always want to be with you. That's a child's way of loving. Loving between adults should be a little more stoic. Not being able to be with you for long periods of time makes me lonely too. However, I think we can enjoy more than enough adult loving during the limited times we have. So, you're telling me to be with my daughter more? Be a mother, not a woman? Well, that's what you want too, right? You want to spend lots of time with your daughter, right? I won't run away. I'm trying to say that I think it's sad for you to sacrifice your daughter so that you can prioritize your time with me. World's sanest boyfriend just dropped? Did you get back on good terms with your wife? Oh, he's having an affair with her. Ah. Well, you've had about enough of being separated from her. I don't want to talk about my wife. Just like you don't want to talk about your daughter. Yeah, world's most toxic relationship just dropped. I'm sure you think a single woman with children are a pain. I never said anything like that. Whenever someone finds out I have a child, they desert me. Even if I tell them not to worry about paying the child's living expenses, they all desert me. I thought you understood about my daughter, but I guess you don't like single women with children after all. Hello? That's not what I'm saying. I haven't started to dislike you, Rosa. I'm just starting to tell you to take better care of your... I'm just trying to tell you to take better care of your daughter. Something I know you wish for yourself. Yes, thank you for the head pat. And I don't want you to hurt yourself by lying to her. That's all I'm saying. Liar. I've just become a burden for you, right? Now this is the trauma seeping through. As soon as anything gets uncomfortable, she just eject buttons her way out. That's not what I'm saying. I guess you don't like it when I abandoned my daughter and completely refused to care for her in an appropriate manner. Yeah, ew, what a turnoff. No, I know. I understand. After being abandoned so many times because of that child, I know. I can tell by your mood. Yes, you're already like all those other men. You don't want a woman with a child. You don't want a divorce because that's a pain. What? You don't want to become the parent of a child made with another man, right? Yes, that's right. I totally get it. I once went out with a man with children, so I really get how you feel. Hello, King Wolfgang. How's it going? Yeah, I show the chat on Twitch on stream, but I can't show both because I do prioritize Twitch. So if you want to chat on Twitch, you're more than welcome to come that way. Roche actually took the time to try to reach out instead of coming up with their own assumptions. None of this would have happened. For real. I once went out with a man with children, so I really get how you feel. That's why I believed I'd be able to get together with you, a person who understood about my daughter. Dude, like, understood about my daughter from the context she's speaking of is like the reddest flag imaginable. Like, I leave my 9-year-old daughter by herself frequently so that I can go, like, have sex with you at a nice hotel. That is like... No, dude. Like, that's just anyone who's, like, on board for that is also, like, the wrong kind of person. That's right. You were always in the way. Oh, my God. If only you didn't exist, I would have been able to grasp my happiness as a woman long ago. Because you exist, you are always in the way of my happiness. So it makes it like, I think Rosa never wanted Maria, which has kind of been apparent for Infinite. Unless this is the Prestige. Again, unless we're in the Prestige and there's two Rosas. This is the Rosa who, I don't know why they have to live as one person. But like, it's like, I guess, like, maybe they both need to be Ushumiya Rosa because of the fortune, right? They want Kinzo's fortune, so they both have to be Ushumiya Rosa. Maybe one was like, I don't know, disowned or something like that. And the one who's like trying to go out and, you know, just live her life, have sex, be like a, you know, a single woman without a child is in direct conflict with the one who actually loves Maria, the one who actually had Maria. I don't know. The Prestige is the one that makes the most sense to me right now. Even I didn't want you to be born. No, that's not it. I thought I might be able to build a happy family together with you. But that man disappeared right before your birth. He said he'd build a warm family with me, tricked me, and disappeared from my sight for all eternity. Only you were left. No love or memories or anything remained. Where did that man go? He probably just turned my days with him into a warm memory and met with a new love. And this time, he might have been able to create a happy family. And as for me, I have you. I can't even look for new love. Men can go between women as they like and brag about it. But a woman, for me, I have you. I have you as stone weight. And because of you, I can't search for romance. I can't find love. I can only live alone. No, I wasn't even allowed that. I wasn't even allowed a night to drink myself drunk all alone. Who are you? Who? You wasted my life and won't even let me have a new one. Just who are you to my life? Die. Disappear. I've hated you since the time you were born. I've hated you since the time you were in my womb. I've been doing my best to act like a good mother so that I'd be accepted by the outside world. Yes, I've done my best. As I watched other women of my generation praise being single, sometimes playing with passion or even being joined with someone in love, I was stuck being both a mother and a woman. Whoever showed appreciation for my efforts? No one admired me. No one praised me. I got what I deserved? Secondhand goods? Divorcees should die? You don't want anyone who's not a virgin? I'm the one who doesn't want anything to do with you, you damn inexperienced virgin brat. I was so desperate, I probably look like an easy woman to you. Yes, I was desperate. You probably couldn't imagine how desperate a woman like me, who's still at the age where she wants to know love, was. When I realized that my time was being filled with work and caring for my child. So that I'd probably grow old and end my life still like this. Of course I hate your real father too, but we both share the blame for bringing about that catastrophe. I myself might have been persistent enough to make him run away, but that catastrophes after that were all your fault. When did I ever scold you for it? Never, right? The day after one man left me, when I wanted to drink myself dead drunk, was Parents' Day at your school. When I tried to hide my tear-stained eyes with heavy makeup, the way I felt when you said something off the mark and the whole class laughed at you is something that not only you, but probably everyone in the world couldn't understand. I hate you. I loathe you. And until now, I've never really loved you even once. Oh my god. Poor Maria, dude. Rosa's the worst. Maria's face was still stiff. If the words had really been blades, Maria's whole body would probably be stained red with fresh blood by now. True. Hey, Thorn, how's it going? Even after gaining the power of a witch and resolving herself to take revenge for Sakutaro, she couldn't stand these curses coming out of her mother's mouth. Aww. Ugly. Ah. How ugly is a woman drowning in lust? Now you see this woman's true nature. Even I, as a witch who has explored the depths of evil, find this most difficult to watch. If Beatrice finds it difficult to watch, you are in trouble. Maria is Seth and I'm Rosa after getting owned in the Kuon matchup. just It's like, I hate you. I wish you were never programmed. Hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing good too, Jazzard. I'm doing pretty good. I'm chilling. I'm loving Umineko. It's just super long. Maria. Now is the time to part from her. Smash that ugly lump of meat that calls herself your mother. Yeah, yeah, it's like, Beatrice is like, yeah, that's a little far, ma'am. All I do is turn people into cake and force feed them into each other, you know? It's like, I'm not telling them I wish they was never born. It would be pointless for your pure soul to be bound by the chains between mother and daughter any longer. With your own hand, release your own soul now. You have now gained tooth and claw to protect yourself. Now you'll taste the pain I had to go through. Now I'll take revenge for those days of suffering. Aren't you the one who's... God, I hate this woman. Aren't you the one who's been hurting me? I'm the one who wants revenge. I should have done that way before you were born. If only you hadn't been born. Edge. As Rosa howled, in a way that can only be described by the word splat, her upper body was crushed, and in an instant became something similar to a wrung, blood-stained towel. Be crushed. I cannot forgive you. Cannot forgive you. What filth. That form suits you. Even though Rosa's waist and below was standing normally, just the upper half of her body had been pinched, and that extreme contrast was bizarre. We can't really kill Rosa as the second Twilight, though. Like, who's she close to? Then she fell over, but the instant she fell, her body was restored. You die. Oh, is Rosa gonna turn into a witch? Come, Maria. Is this the limit of your anger and sadness? Now is the time for revenge. Time for the settlement of anger and sadness. Hit her. Spit it out. Push all of the wedges driven into your chest and fling them back at her. Maria's howl was adorned with the ugly sound of flesh and bone being crushed at the same time, as Rosa, who had foully insulted Maria, lay spread-eagled. A neat, perfect circle was cut out of her chest and crushed, as though her chest had been trampled by an invisible elephant. Her heart and her lungs and her ribs were trampled so mercilessly that they were completely indistinguishable. It might have symbolized the pain in Maria's heart up until today. So, Maria, are you satisfied now? Can you forgive your mother for her sin? Or not? Innocent? Or guilty? I can't forgive her. Not yet. Mama's guilty, 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 guilty. I cannot forgive her. God, I love Beatrice. Indeed, how could this level of punishment compare to the bitter days you suffered through? Know it, Rosa. Come, try to remember. What form did you have? Revive in order to be killed again. Be killed over and over so that your sins can be purified. When Beata waved her cane, the body was restored again, and Rosa sat up, coughing violently in apparent pain. And once again, she spat out curses, rejecting Maria. You aren't Mama. You're a witch tormenting me and her. I won't forgive you just because you look like her. I won't forgive you. Again, I'm thinking there's the double Rosa situation going on here. You're the witch, aren't you? Always reading creepy books and pretending to play with witches? You're the one who should disappear. Ah, that's the yellow event from One Piece. That's discard a card, get plus 3k, and it has a trigger that draws a card. Because of you, even I'm treated like a freak. Because of you. Because of you. If only you hadn't been born. Don't be born. I've hated you since before you were born. Maria screamed. Was she unable to bear her anger and sadness? Or else had she been taken over by an indescribable emotion? It was surely a cry of helplessness. And yet, it was a reality that had to be accepted. Maria knew. She knew that she was thought of as a burden. But even though she herself had known that, she didn't believe it. She'd believed that her mother loved her and had done her best to positively interpret several events that could have made her doubt this, trusting and clinging to her mother's love. But she had no one except Mama. Even so, she really did like Mama and wanted to return to the days when she'd believed that Mama loved her. So I howled. I'll erase all of it. I won't accept it. I'll deny it. I'll deny the mother who says these things, the black witch who makes her say them, the part of myself that cannot forgive my mother. But I can't deny it. This is reality, fact, the truth, the answer. Without any mistake, this is absolute reality. Maria turned Rosa into a lump of meat over and over. Over and over in the dark world that reflected her heart, rang the ugly sound of flesh and bone being torn apart, which would make anyone want to cover their ears. Each time, Beatrice revived Rosa. She dragged her back into the world of endless torture, which could not be escaped from, even by death. This was the true, deepest hell that the endless witch Beatrice could create. However, this world was not made endless by Beatrice's will, because every time Rosa turned into a lump of meat, she asked the same question to Maria. Are you satisfied now, Maria? Can your anger forgive your mother yet? How could I forgive her? I won't ever forgive her. I'll teach you all of my pain. Teach you much, much more. It's still not enough. Not close to enough. Since I was born, and since before I was born, I can't get rid of the anger and sadness of being neglected so long. Ugh. I hate you. I hate you. Oh, Rosa reveling in it now. Revive over and over again. Return to the meat lump over and over again. In various ways, she crushed, smashed, beat, and tore to bits. Flying blood spatter and flesh turned the once pitch-black world into a world with mixed red and black. Maria's anger still hadn't calmed down. It was as though she was spitting out all of the suppressed rage from the time of her birth until today. If that all became poison to her heart, then would the repeated murder of her mother purify her soul? Would even this wasteful murder save her soul? At least a little bit? The endless torture might have become a slight diversion from her sad, unrewarded life. After all, it seemed that she'd finally been able to regain her smile. Learn it. You, the source of my unhappiness. Learn it. Learn that what you're feeling is nothing compared to my pain. What's wrong? Why'd you stop laughing? Try. Just try and laugh. Half of her skull collapsed. Eyeballs flew out and black cranial fluid gushed. Fragments of teeth scattered. Come on. Revive. Try and laugh again. Come on, come on. Stretch, okay. Ugh. Oh. Her whole chest, along with her ribs, turned inside out, exposing her filthy innards. All of them writhed like some kind of impure creature. Come on, come on. Revive. Can you still laugh? Can you still laugh? Rosa couldn't laugh anymore, but her face was laughing. It was filled with a twisted laugh and covered with a malice that rejected her unwanted daughter. I erased that laughing voice. Next, I'll erase that laughing face. I'll erase it, crush it, I'll tear it to bits. Laugh. Try and laugh, Mama. What's wrong, Mama? Let's wake up, read a picture book, and go take a walk. Let's say we love each other. Let's make a promise for next Sunday. Let's go shopping. Let's go to the movies. And of course, you'll just break that promise. Isn't it fun, Mama? I'm playing with Mama now, right? I am hydrating as well, Ditz. Thank you for looking out. That's right. You are now playing with your mother, having fun with her. Tell me how you feel right now. I don't believe it's anger or sadness or pain. Yeah, that's right. I get it, Beatrice. I'm having a lot of fun now. I'm playing with Mama, so it's tons of fun. And even though I'm killing her over and over again, she can be revived with just a single bit of magic. I took care of my toys because I couldn't fix them if they broke. But if the toy can be fixed, I'd want to break it over and over and over again. I think this is why Maria started to act the way she was before the first episodes. Losing Sakataro like this and torturing Rosa must have been the catalyst. Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, I wonder what the timeline on torturing Rosa is, because it seemed like this is happening... It seems like this is happening in, like, the time of Rokkenjima, you know? Like, after the first Twilight happened. But this could have happened way back when. Maybe, like, as a dream or something. But Sakutaro won't be fixed. He can't be fixed because Mama who made him, Mama who gave birth to him, won't acknowledge him. I wasn't acknowledged by her either, was I? So, the broken Maria won't be fixed either. It's fun, Mama. Since it's gotten so fun, I'm somehow starting to feel that I could forgive you. Hey, Beto. This is a very strange feeling. Why? Why am I starting to feel like I can forgive Mama? That enlightened state is only reached by witches who have gained the power to control life and death at will. You can kill at any time. You can revive her if needed. If that's a pain, then it's alright to kill her again. Once you've learned that you can do this at any time by simply snapping your fingers, all nonsense spoken in the world of humans becomes chirping of insects that isn't worth listening to. You didn't begin to think about forgiving your mother because your eyes were open to your mother's love. It was because now you stand at the entrance to the world of true witches. Welcome, Maria, to the profound and sweet world of witches. I've done it. Maria is no longer Maria. I may still be an apprentice, but I've surpassed the human world. I am now the apprentice witch of origins, Maria. There's nothing to frustrate me, nothing to make me sad. Mama, I'll forgive you. I'm sure I can. I think I'll be able to forgive you after doing just a bit more. After all, I'm a witch. Five Nights at Freddy's. Maria would probably forgive her mother eventually, after brutally murdering her countless times, graciously. That last thunder was loud. Oh, must have been pretty close, right? Yeah, looks like it. No matter how old you get, thunder still makes you jump. Battler was looking at the dark night through a crack in the curtains. Every once in a while, a pale white lightning bolt would shine, and he seemed to be enjoying it. Oh. Look, you were so noisy you woke Maria up. Oh, was Maria dreaming? Look, Maria. Or sorry, Maria. Sorry, Battler's so loud. What? So it's my fault? Sorry, Maria. It's okay to go back to sleep. Good night. Maria was a bit hazy with drowsy eyes. She was probably half asleep and couldn't think straight. Ugh. That's okay. I won't sleep. No. It's fine. Go ahead and sleep. You're still half asleep, aren't you? I'm not half asleep. Come on. You're totally half asleep. Just sleep. Come on. I'm not half asleep. Come on, Battler. Sheesh. What are you thinking, getting a kid who's just woken up into a bad mood? I'm not half asleep. Maria freaking out. I understand, Maria-chan. You aren't half asleep, so calm down. What's happening? Maybe it was because of her delicate mental state after waking up, but Maria suddenly threw a tantrum. Battler had only been trying to tease her a bit, so he was confused by this extreme overreaction. George held her head, trying to calm her down, but Maria's tantrum wasn't going to be quelled easily. Battler and Jessica were trying to push the blame on each other, saying, "It's your fault too." Hey now, be quiet, you two. Jessica, there was still some hot water in the pot, right? Could you make some tea for her? He mentioned. Did you calm down, Maria? It looked like her tantrum was dying down bit by bit, but she still glared at Battler, who had made fun of her with sharp eyes. Battler was just kidding around. He doesn't really think you're half asleep. So calm down, okay? George noticed. Maria was staring at Battler with incredible eyes. And despite having just displayed all that emotion, she laughed in a small voice. Instead of a laugh, it seemed more like she was muttering while thinking about, or else counting each hit. As though each time she said it, something brutal would happen over and over and over. George felt something creepy for just an instant, but he couldn't spot the madness that peeked out of the depths of the girl's eyes for just a moment. After a short period of stunned silence on George's part, Maria stopped her bizarre quiet laugh and pushed George's arm aside, as though telling him to let go. Ugh. I'll forgive him. Oh. Really? You're such a good girl, Maria. Battler, Maria forgave you. Make up. Yeah, sorry for teasing you. Forgive me. Hey, Maria. Let's make some cafe au lait as a sign that you've made up. I'll put in lots of sugar, so it'll be sweet. I don't need it, but I'll forgive you. Because I'm a witch. One more time, Maria laughed in a creepy, quiet voice. But it was only for a very short time, so Battler and Jessica didn't think much of it. They decided to think that it had probably only looked that way when the lightning lit her cheek with a pale white light for an instant. At that time, they could hear the sound of loud footsteps coming from the hall. It was already about 10:30, late at night. Late at night is usually a time when you aren't supposed to be disturbed. Hearing footsteps like that at this time was far from calming. Then, along with a clearly ominous knock that repeated fiercely, they could hear Goda and Kumasawa's voices. That clearly told them that this was an abnormal situation. Children, are you there? It's Goda. And Kumasawa, is everyone okay? What has happened? When George opened the door, the two of them tumbled in, sopping wet. It looked like they had dashed here from the mansion without an umbrella. What's wrong, you two? Did something happen? It was, the master and Kraus and everyone. Oh my gosh, jump scare. Really weird chapter break. It was a pitch black room. There was no windows, and with a weak light bulb, one could barely make out the state of things around them. It appeared to be an old forgotten underground storage room with some kind of dusty furniture haphazardly thrown into it. However, even with just a little light, one could at least make out that it probably wasn't a storage room. After all, that room was sealed off with iron bars. Where is this? I don't know. Could this be underneath the mansion? Has there always been a room like this, directly underneath the dining hall? They had dropped into what would appear to be a pit, falling into this room. Therefore, it was natural to assume that this room was directly under the dining hall. Hey now. What's a great way to make a closed room, but to escape through a trap door in the floor? However, not even Kraus could bring himself to believe that there were pitfalls rigged in his beloved dining hall, where he had enjoyed his meals for years, and that this dungeon-like room lay directly beneath it. But the ceiling above was of crude stone craftsmanship, and they couldn't understand how they could have fallen from somewhere up there. No. All 5 people who had been dropped here through this thought the same thing. Although they had the sensation of falling into a pit, there was no way there could be pitfalls in the dining hall, nor could this dungeon-like place be directly under it. But the truth was that they actually had fallen into this place and were locked in, so they were confused. It is lucky that no one was hurt after falling from such a height. Shin and Kennen, do either of you two know about this room? No. We do not know of this room either. Really? Really? We really don't know about a room like this. Despite their age, Kiri apparently wouldn't have found it odd if they, as servants allowed to wear the one-winged eagle, might know of this mansion's secret tricks. There was a long silence, as if Kraus was evaluating their answer. No, it's probably true that you don't know. After all, this is the clean freak Shannon we're talking about. If she knew about this room, she'd probably scrub the place until it was sparkling. The filth of this room is proof that you two don't know of it. More importantly, I think we should worry about what to do next. Exactly. We need to call the police, or rather, administer first aid as soon as possible. Nanjo's words were hollow. Obviously, 6 people had been killed in the dining hall. Everyone had seen the exact moment when they'd been killed. And since half of their heads had been destroyed, anyone could tell that the deaths had been instant with just a single glance. Everyone understood that the first aid no longer held any meaning. Thank you, Dr. Nanjo. We already understood that our partners are no longer alive. Thanks for trying to console us by mentioning first aid. Natsuhi. Once again, the gloomy silence dominated the atmosphere, but Kraus shook his head harshly over and over for the time being. Decided to forget the pain of losing his wife and to dedicate himself to figuring out where they were. Everyone, listen to me. Father is hopeless now. We've passed that point. We've passed the point of searching for a reason or an explanation that can be expressed in words. Nobody answered. Without any kind of discussion or mercy, 6 people had been killed in an instant. And Kinzo had even been so bold as to proclaim that we'd become sacrifices for a ceremony involving 13 murders. Since we've been locked up in this place, we too will probably become the ceremony's next sacrifices soon. Around this time, our eyes became used to the darkness, and bit by bit, we were able to understand more about this dungeon's interior. What we thought was furniture haphazardly left in the dungeon turned out to not be furniture at all. They were things like small cages to lock people in, restraints or torture racks. At any rate, it was obvious that this was eerier than a normal jail cell. Since the objects were rusted together and coated in thick dust, there was no doubt that they had been forgotten. Maybe you could even call these things Kinzo's sealed and forgotten madness. We're long past first aid, Nanjo. Yeah, sniping bunny girls got to them. However, we had been locked away in this room. These objects weren't exactly comforting to people who were locked up, hoping to be released without harm. At any rate, let's get out here. We've lost loved ones and friends, and we would like to spend some time shedding tears. But more than that, I'm worried about the children. I wonder if the children are safe. All we can do is pray. Come to think of it, Kumasawa and Goda aren't here. Perhaps they were able to get away safely. You never know. It would be a relief if they were able to meet up with the children. When the going gets tough, Goda is reliable, and Kumasawa is knowledgeable and calm. I'm sure they'll be able to help the children. Yes, that certainly would be comforting. Shannon and Kraus smiled bitterly a little, but they quickly realized how improper that was and stopped, clearing their throats. We can't be optimistic, Nei-san. There's a chance that they've already been attacked after we were. I agree. What Father carried out in the dining hall was the 6 murders of the first Twilight from the epitaph, right? When the second Twilight is to tear apart the two who are close, we can't deny the possibility that Goda and Kumasawa may have been killed after escaping together. We can't cling to the optimistic idea that they must have gotten to the guest house and are protecting the children. Kiri coldly analyzed the worst-case scenario. For her, it was heartbreaking to have lost her beloved husband. But right now, the most important thing was protecting that husband's son, along with the other children, from becoming the insane family head sacrifices. She overcame her sadness with the parental urge to protect children from sorrow. It seemed that both Kiri and Kraus were strong enough to forget about their own grief, only for the time being. Yeah, I'm not sure of who's close. You got Shannon and Cannon. You've got 2 among George, Jessica, and Battler. Can't be Rosa and Maria. It was Rosa and Maria in one of the Twilights, though. Battler and Kiri makes sense. Jessica and Kraus would make some sense, but yeah, Battler and Kiri probably makes the most sense. In order to protect, or Jessica and Cannon, or George and Shannon. In order to protect the children, they had to act. Anyway, let's get out of here. It seems to be a rather old cell. Couldn't we break the bars with something? Let's try searching the entire room for some way to escape. I wonder if there are any torture tools lying around all these torture cages. They might be useful as weapons or to break the bars. Kiri pulled a lighter from her pocket. She herself didn't smoke, but she kept one tucked away in her pocket to light Rudolph's cigarettes. It was an extremely valuable source of light for searching in this dim dungeon. Shannon, help Kiri search the room. Cannon, help me check out the bars. This is a very old cell. The bars could be loose. What can I help with? Please just keep up your strength. Father will probably come soon. You're the only one whose words can reach him. In a way, you might be holding our lives in your hands. My words will no longer reach him. I'm sorry, but I don't believe I will be of any use. Then lend us your expertise as a doctor. I wonder if there exists a drug that can make people instantly faint. A drug that makes people faint? What are you talking about? We believe we fell through a pit and landed in this dungeon. In that panic-stricken moment, that's what we believed happened. But I measured the breadth of this room and came to a realization. This dungeon can't be underneath the dining hall. Why do you say that? Nei-san. Compared to the dining hall, this dungeon is too cramped. Exactly. The first person to fall was Kraus. The second was myself. When you fell into this room, did you move from that spot, Kraus? It's embarrassing to say, but the landing hurt, and I lay there, groaning in pain. It's groaning in pain. Immediately after that, Kiri came crashing down next to me. The distance between where we were standing and the places where we landed is clearly off. Well, certainly, when you put it that way. I was the next to fall, so I remember fairly well where you two were standing. The distance between you two and the dining hall must have been greater than this entire room. We fell into a pit and directly dropped down here. It's not like we fell into multiple interlocking pipes and we're all collected here. The fall was instant, wasn't it? I don't remember rolling around in some sort of elaborate water pipe system. True. We can't explain it with a pitfall. What a strange tale. What does that have to do with the drug that makes people instantly faint? Kiri is probably thinking that there were no pitfalls in the dining hall, correct? But in reality, we did fall. More accurately, we fell as though we fell into pits. That was only natural. After all, we experienced something that couldn't be described any other way. I see. So, this is what you're trying to say. We didn't fall into pits. We were attacked with something like a blow dart and lost consciousness instantly. Could be that we just remember the instant we fell to the floor as though we were falling through a pit. I see. That's a much more persuasive argument than there being numerous pitfall traps in the dining hall that we'd never noticed. Nesan, do you have a watch? Yeah. I have a pocket watch. It's about 10:40. Yeah, my watch says the same. In short, it's only been a bit more than 10 minutes since that uproar in the dining hall, at most. My watch has the same time. That's much too short a time to knock us out and carry us somewhere. Judging only from that time, it's reasonable to assume that we did fall through a hole leading directly underneath the dining hall. They could have tampered with our watch hands as much as they wanted. While we were passed out, they may have wound everyone's watches back. We're incapable of proving that this possibility doesn't exist. Whether it was a pitfall or a drug that induces fainting, it does not change the fact that we need to be on guard. Well then, Dr. Nancho, is there a drug that can do that? It's the same as your reasoning, Kiri. I cannot prove that there isn't a drug with that effect that I don't know about. As they say, you can never be too careful. Sorry, it was a useless question. I just thought that with my hypothesis, I could suggest that this dungeon might not necessarily be directly underneath the dining hall. Which I think is a fair assumption. I see. There's always the possibility that they were carried off to the hidden mansion. They say Father built in the middle of the forest. If we can escape from here and get outside, then we'll know. Like thinking of Beatrice with a blow. Kiri makes you wonder how she managed to bag Rudolph. I don't know. I think they're both, like, awesome. I don't know. I like Rudolph. If we get escape from here and get outside, then we'll know. We'll save worrying about that until we get out. Exactly. I'm truly sorry. I've only been asking about and prying into useless things. No, it's quite promising, actually. If you notice anything else, please tell us. It might become a hint to escaping from here. Rudolph was always talking about you. He said he was always surprised by your ideas, and they would sometimes give him valuable hints. The fact that you're here is a blessing within a tragedy. Thank you. Sorry, I'm yawning. I heard something from Rudolph as well. He said that you usually just swagger about, but when things get serious, you overflow with a sense of responsibility and can be a very dependable older brother. Huh, that's too kind. Damn. At any rate, these iron bars won't even budge. How are things on your end, Cannon? This side's no better. Kraus and Cannon tried wiggling the bars in various ways. There were a few bars that could be twisted, and a few had enough space to rattle a little bit around it. But they couldn't be broken with human strength alone. However, there was still hope if they could use some kind of lever-like tool. It was still far too early to give up yet. The children's lives were hanging in the balance. Even if there was no hope, they couldn't stop their struggle. And it was better for them to act this way. If they were to stop, there's no doubt they'd once again be overcome by the grief of losing their loved ones and curl up, clutching their knees. How are you doing, Kiri? Find anything? I found some small stones that we could hold on to and hide. Something like this could probably be used as a weapon. Though, it'd probably be impossible to whittle down those iron bars with them. How about you, Shannon? Nothing. Well, this is a phone. I doubt it's connected. But we might be able to use the cord as some sort of string-based weapon. If we break it, we could take out the metal parts. Kraus, there's a keyhole for opening the bars, right? Yeah. It's a pretty large hole, quite old-fashioned. If we twist some wire into it, we might be able to pick the lock. We might be able to use the metal parts of the phone as a substitute for something. Oops. Sorry, I banged my microphone. This phone will become our weapon. It's just like investing. Our weapon is information. Kraus and Kiri laughed together at how they hadn't even thought of using the phone as a means of communication. What are you doing, Nesan? I was just wondering if the phone might be working. You dummy, Nesan. What did he whisper? At that point, Shannon let out a small, surprised cry. Kitty, the phone. It's connected. What? It was like when people move out of an office, taking everything with them, leaving only the telephone behind. That's the feeling the phone gave off, having been left in the corner of the cell. The cord was wound into a coil, the tip of it being swallowed by the wall. And just looking at it, there was no reason to assume that it wasn't hooked up. But to think that it actually was. Kiri took the receiver from Shannon and pressed it to her ear. Certainly the electric hum of a phone was a familiar sound, and this phone was certainly live. Ah, what good luck! Let's contact the police. Hold on. This is too good to be true. Could it be bugged? If they were planning a trick like that, normally they would cut the telephone line. That's actually a good possibility that they overlooked this. There's actually a good possibility that they overlooked this. If you notice, they might actually cut the line this time, if they notice. There's nothing we could do to tell the police that would be problematic for us if they overheard. Surely that was true. The point of a wiretap is to overhear some important piece of information. But the way things were right then, she couldn't think of a single thing that would come up in a conversation to the outside world that might be troublesome to have overheard. Kiri instantly concluded that this was more likely to be a mistake on Kinzo's part than a trap. You do have a point. I believe you start with 0 to make calls through the external line. Kennen, I'm gonna make a phone call, so will you watch how things are out there for me? If you sense somebody coming, let me know. Yes, but it sounds like Kennen's in on it. Kennen raced off towards the iron bars, silenced his breathing, and strained his ears. As everyone present watched her, Kiri dialed 110. Yeah, hello police, magic's happening. However, she pushed the hook down and redialed many times. It didn't seem to be working very well. The outside line begins with 0? 110 would be 0110 then, right? Doesn't seem to want to go through. Hand it over. I'll try to call. Kraus took the receiver in Kiri's place and tested various things. But in the end, they were unable to notify the police. The phone itself was definitely live, but the circuit was apparently cut somewhere. Did this mean that they were not so naive? So it's useless after all. It means our enemies aren't naive either. Kiri let out a deep sigh, leaned against the wall, and hung her head for a while. As cool thinking as she was, for a brief moment, she may actually have had the naive hope that the phone might actually work. She sneered at herself mockingly for holding on to the naive hope for even a single moment. Then she remembered just what was happening here. Truth be told, even after being shown a scene like that right before her eyes, or rather, exactly because of that, she still couldn't think of the gruesome mass murder as something real. It was less than she couldn't believe it, and more that she didn't want to believe it. Ushumiya Kinzo killed 6 family members. He summoned strange, witch-like demons, like demon-like people, right out of thin air, and with something like magic, began to kill people one after the other. It was just all so screwed up. Even though she definitely saw it, there was no way she could accept that spectacle. There's no way that's what happened. Those were obviously Father's friends or something. They just hid somewhere in the dining hall beforehand and used some tricks to appear suddenly and fool us. There's no other way to explain something as screwed up as that. But when those 6 had their heads blown apart, the golden arrow had flown around and around in the room. That had truly looked like magic. Was that another thing we just saw wrong? There's no way it was magic. It was definitely some kind of setup. Since those heads were smashed, there's no doubt it was some kind of explosive. For example, a styrene toy plane like they sell at candy stores, painted gold, with a powerful explosive loaded into the end of it. However, though it had seemed to be flying about at random, Kiri could imagine that after being fired 6 times, each time it perfectly hit the victim square in the head, one after the other. It couldn't be that there was a computer-controlled system for finding and hitting targets, making it a high-tech styrene plane on the same level as a guided missile, right? Would he invest such a large amount of money and develop some stupid trick like that? For that insane sideshow? Does this take us back to the old, I wouldn't put it past Father? A number of mysterious people appeared out of thin air. 6 people had their heads demolished by a mysterious golden flying object. and the 5 of us were locked away in a mysterious dungeon by a mysterious set of pitfalls, or else put to sleep by some feigning poison dart. Hi, White Beast. Pap, pap. The family conference started a bit after 2200. It's only been more than 30 minutes since then. Most likely, even though I witnessed it myself, that event took place in such a short period of time, so I still can't understand it, and I still can't come to grips with it. For argument's sake, even if we did get a hold of the police, it would probably be impossible for anyone to accurately explain what we saw, even though I just saw it now. My brain's fried, and I have no confidence in what I saw myself. Kiri tried her hardest to cheer herself out of her overwhelming confusion, just to hold on to her sanity. I wouldn't put it past Father as one of those explanations that are so funny that you want to believe it. But in this world, like, it just checks out. Damn, what's going on here? Kraus started to become desperate, hitting the hook multiple times and resetting the dial. Kraus had also been feigning composure, but he was unable to hide his panic. The more he retried the dial, the more the pretense of serenity peeled away. I don't know what's going on anymore. Kiri couldn't help but pray that the events that had just occurred were a dream. At that time, the look on Kraus's face changed. No. I got through. It's ringing. Same with Beatrice exists and is a witch, but did all the crimes without magic. Yeah. Really, Kraus? I see. How shallow. Since we can't contact the police, the external line has probably been cut, but he failed to sever the internal line. The internal line? Kraus, where did you call? The guest house. I'm calling the room where Jessica and the rest are staying. Hello? Hello? It's me. You're... Goda. Is Jessica there? Is she safe? Kraus? I'm so glad you're safe. Yes. Lady Jessica and the other children are here as well, safe and unharmed. Dad? I'm glad you're okay. Is Mom okay? Is she there? Kraus choked on his words. Kraus had clearly seen Natsui's head crushed, had seen her killed right before his eyes. Eventually, he was going to have to tell that to Jessica. However, Kraus began to fret over whether he should tell her now or not, and lost his words. But even that was an answer under these circumstances. I don't know about your mother. Let's pray for her safety. For now, I'm just glad you're safe. Yeah, I understand. I'm sorry for asking. Jessica's voice was filled with tears. Kraus was certain now. Jessica and the rest had heard everything, start to finish, after meeting up with Goda and Kumasawa at the guest house. When they learned that 6 people had been killed, they must have been anxious to rush over to the dining hall. Luckily, he'd been able to call before they'd stormed off toward the mansion. Kraus was relieved at this good timing during such a tragedy. We have Kiri and Dr. Nanjo as well as Shannon and Cannon here. We've been locked in a place that's like a dungeon. But don't worry, we'll figure something out. A dungeon? Where? We'll come and save you. Unfortunately, we can't figure out where this is either. We think maybe it's under the dining hall, but that might not be true. Anyways, Jessica, you must stay where you are. You've heard about what happened from Goda and Kumasawa, yes? Yeah. Grandfather... It killed everybody. Grandfather isn't in a sane state of mind right now. If you encounter him, you'll be in danger. You might be killed. You mustn't even think about trying to come and save us. We'll take care of ourselves. Then what should we do? Damn you, Grandfather. How dare you do that to Mom and the rest? I'm gonna kill that undying bastard. Jessica, if you talk like that, you'll sadden your mother. Those aren't the words of a lady. Anyway, put your own safety first. Lock all the guest house doors. But you mustn't overestimate how safe that will make you. The large window in the first floor lounge might get broken. Stay in your room and use your bed to make a barricade. There's a toilet and fridge in there too, right? You should be able to stay holed up until tomorrow morning. Listen up. I'll say it again. Don't think of doing anything violent. Don't even think about trying to take revenge for Mom. Only think of hiding and getting through this without provoking our enemies. Yeah, I understand, Dad. After that, Goda took the phone and was firmly told to supervise the kids well as an adult. Goda, with his face covered in a cold sweat, repeatedly replied, yes, sir, in an excessively tense voice. From there, Kiri took the receiver and spoke with Battler, and when Shannon and Cannon got their turns, George and Jessica answered. Following that pattern, Nanjo and Kumasawa picked up as well, so that all the members of both sides took the receiver in turn. confirming that everyone was safe for now, even if their location was unknown, and encouraging each other, coming to an understanding on the current situation for both sides. They wanted to talk forever, but now was not the time to chat. Kraus explained that they would be hanging up for now, and those in the guest house consented. If anything happens, we'll call. Wait by the phone so you can pick it up quickly. Again, be careful. You mustn't do anything rash. Yeah, I understand. As long as you and Cannon and the others okay, then that's good enough for me. We'll do our best. Stay safe. Of course. Well then, I'm hanging up for now. Be on your guard. With that, the phone call ended. Goda and the rest of the men quickly descended to the first floor, closed the shutters, and secured the sturdy locks on the doors. However, just as Kraus had worried, there was nothing that could be done about the beautiful wide window in the first floor lounge. If someone broke that, it would be easy to get inside. It wouldn't be hard for someone like Kinzo, who hadn't hesitated at committing murder, to invade the first floor. It's likely that Grandfather and his followers will be armed. Locking ourselves in our room is our best bet, and even moreover, our only method of forming a barricade. It's painful that we have no choice but to hole up in a sealed room, but if our enemies are carrying guns, then that's the only method we have left to us. I have heard that Master has a collection of working guns. That's right, guns. That was a gun. If so, it must have been a horribly powerful gun. We can't contend with that at all. It takes a lot of force to smash someone's head open, right? So it might be a magnum bullet or something like that. That'd probably go through a flimsy door like it was nothing. If so, then that's even more of a reason to hold out in our room. Let's slide a bed in place and block the window too. If we do that much, then no matter how many guns they've got, they shouldn't be able to raid us. Ugh. All we can do is a passive one-sided defense? Damn it. Dealing a finishing blow to Dad, and even capturing Kiri, that's gonna cost you, you damn geezer. Impossible. There's no way we can compete with them. Besides, it's not just the Master. He has his underlings, too. There might even be more of them. Just, what are they? Battler was filled to the brim with the urge to get revenge for Rudolph, and to rush out there to save Kiri. But just by looking at how terrified Goda was, there was no doubt in him that this would be reckless. It's gotta be hard on you too, right, Aniki? And yet, you've gotta stay holed up here. Damn it. Of course I'm torn up about it too. It's not like I can remain calm with both of my parents murdered. But, specifically because of that, I have to remain calm. Do you think our dead parents would want us to die in vain? There's no way they would. They'd want for at least their children to escape. So I will survive. I'll report this to the police and uncover everything. I'll leave my enemies to the courts. That is my revenge. There's no way our parents would want us to die taking revenge for them, right? You're right. It's just as you say. Damn it, you old bastard. What's this about a ceremony? If we're supposed to be sacrifices for something like that, then we'll escape no matter what it takes, ruining this precious ritual of yours. That's right. Besides, you still have Kiri, Battler, and I still have Shannon. Anyway, let's be cautious and wait for our chance. Any careless actions on our part might just end up causing harm to those who have been captured. Hostages, huh? But Grandfather captured them so he could use them as sacrifices. If we don't go and save them, then are we just waiting for them to get killed? We don't even know where the dungeon they're being held in is. Shannon and Cannon didn't know about it, and of course Goda and Kumasawa don't know either. The possibility that they're in a secret location that only Grandfather knows of is incredibly high. Under these circumstances, aimlessly wandering about would be practically suicidal. I understand, but still, damn it. Why are you saying the only thing we can do is stay confined here until something happens? Battler, I understand how you feel, but let's put safety first. From what Kraus said, they seem to be in a fairly odd cell. Fairly old cell. A fairly odd cell. And they may be able to break the bars somehow. The wise choice of action now is to believe in them and wait. Grandfather has a number of subordinates and they're all armed, correct? Yeah. And they're probably all armed. Goda had been able to say that Kinzo had comrades with him, but he hadn't been able to mention that they were mostly young women, like witches, who had to use strange magic to murder. If he said that, it would only have cast doubt on his sanity. No, not only that, He himself still couldn't understand what he had seen and was doubting his own sanity. But regardless of sex or appearance, regardless of whether it was done with magic or a gun, the fact that these girls had followed Kinzo's orders and killed 6 people in an instant was an unshakable truth. If that group came to attack the guest house as well, what would happen? Just closing the doors and windows like this was surely meaningless. Goda and Kumasawa. The only thing left for these two, who had witnessed that massacre in the dining hall, was to cradle their heads without knowing how to interpret what they had seen. Kumasawa, are you okay? Want some tea? Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, but may I be left with my thoughts for a little while? Maria tried to be nice, but it seemed that Kumasawa still hadn't been able to clear away her confusion. Maria, thanks for being so considerate. Let's let Kumasawa rest for now. Ugh. Jessica was also worried about the shock that these two must have received after witnessing such a tragedy. But her wildest dreams couldn't even come close to the unbelievable scene that Kumasawa had witnessed. Nevertheless, with her mother murdered and her father captured, it wasn't as though Jessica could stay calm either. She sealed her anxiety and sadness using her anger toward Kinzo and walked irritatedly around the room. Kumasawa, is Mom really dead? Yes. I've never seen such a horrible way to die before. Is it possible that she's still alive? And that if we fix her up, we could save her? It is not possible for a person to have something like that done to their head live. You're right. There's no need for first aid. Once your head's smashed, usually... Then Goda came flying... When Goda had come flying into the guest house, he had, overcome with agitation, told about the massacre in the dining hall without concealing anything. Except for the part about the witches and magic, which they themselves still couldn't believe. In other words, he hadn't even sugarcoated the cold-blooded way in which Natsuki and the others had died. It was too late now, but Kumasawa regretted the fact that they'd obviously said too much. However, while lightly shaking her head with a slightly painful laugh, Jessica spoke. Actually, thanks to what you told us, I was able to stay level-headed. If you'd avoided mentioning the part about her head being smashed, I would have thought she might still be alive. Then, I would have run off toward the mansion, met Grandfather, and I might have gotten killed. The sliver of hope could have been fatal in the end. So I'm grateful. I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry we didn't choose our words more carefully. Don't worry about that now. There's nothing we can do for Mom, but Dad's still alive. Kanon and Shannon, and Kiri and Nanjo too. I want to save them somehow, but we shouldn't do anything unnecessary that might make things worse for them. The most helpful thing we can do right now might just be to wait by the phone. They might receive a phone call asking them to create a diversion while the others escaped. Or, the others might discover their location and call for rescue. Jessica understood that in order to act promptly when the time came, the only thing they could do for the time being was to wait in this room. Once they'd finished inspecting the downstairs area and locking up, George, Battler, and Goda returned. Each was holding various objects. George had things like drinks, canned food, crackers, and other types of snacks he had found in the lounge and storage room, as well as a first aid kit. They were all consumables that would be essential during a siege. Goda had a large folding ladder and carpentry tools. These were to seal the door from the inside, just in case. And if it came to it, the ladder was for escaping out the window. Battler had brought up objects that could be used as edge weapons or poles. In addition to the obvious kitchen knife, there was a disassembled table leg that could be used as a club, and a pole roughly the size of a person, which he'd apparently made by taking apart a hat stand. Even though the pole had no point, it could surely be used like a spear. There was a good chance that their enemies had guns, though it was dubious whether these would be of any use. But it was still better than not having them, and if having these could give them at least a little peace of mind, then they'd be useful for their calming effect. Then, the bed and sofa were placed up against the door, barricading it. They didn't go so far as to seal it up with nails. There was still a chance that Krause and the others would escape and come to meet up with them. They had apparently set up a barricade at the top of the stairs as well. It had been set up in a way that would create a racket, though it would serve as a warning alarm as well. This had apparently been Battler's idea. For that reason, they turned the TV off. That way, if the first floor window were to be broken, they would hear. Once the switch had been turned, all that was left was an eerie silence. The sound of violent wind and rain. Were they going to have to spend a whole night being crushed by such suspense? The boat would come tomorrow morning. However, judging by the weather report, most of tomorrow was going to be covered in the typhoon, and the boat probably wouldn't come. The typhoon was set to pass in the morning of the day after tomorrow. In other words, the boat would be arriving in the morning after next, the morning of October 6th. And right now, it was late into the night on October 4th. They would have to spend more than 30 hours on this island, with Kinzo turned cold-blooded murderer and his weird companions prowling about. Even with the shutters closed, there would definitely be a little bit of light seeping out. It might let the enemies know that they were hiding here. Battler suggested that it might be best to turn off the lights, but they had already been overwhelmed by a ghastly feeling just from turning the TV off. There wasn't anyone who directly challenged his proposal, but then again, there wasn't a single other person who agreed with it. Ugh, we can't watch TV? Yeah, sorry, but you're gonna have to bear with it. We can't just let the sound of the enemy breaking in slip by. Also noteworthy, Rosa's not in the dungeon, and she wasn't killed in the murders, huh? Or was she? Maybe she was. It was you. It was Rosa, huh? Because these two are alive, these two are alive. You're alive, you're alive, you're alive. You're alive, you're alive, you're alive. And these two are alive. So Rosa did die in the murders. Boring. Even though she had been told of her mother's death, Maria alone didn't feel an approaching sense of danger. She just seemed to be upset that the TV had been turned off. Even though she's in such a bizarre situation, can she not share in our sense of danger? Is it because she's so young? To Battler, even this faintly unsettling feeling from such a young girl made him sense that there was something very eerie about Maria. That said, we've already done all we can. Do you think we'll be able to do anything about the bars? Unfortunately, they're tougher than expected. I don't know when these were made, but there's no problem with their lifetime guarantee. These truly were built rather well. Kiri chuckled softly. They had no moves they could make, but she had calmed just a little. This place is just like the capture pile of a chess game. So, there are no remaining moves left to us. Not yet. It's still too early to give up. If we stop thinking, we might as well stop breathing, right? Exactly. Chess pieces in the capture pile may serve no purpose, but in shogi, they can be quite significant. Just one captured pawn should be able to put pressure on the opponent. I see. But still, there's nothing that can be done about these bars. For us, maybe. But if we can figure out where this is and contact Goda, he might be able to come and save us. I see. But that would mean putting Goda in danger. And if that happens, I would also be worried about the children in the guest house, alone without a full-grown adult. When you're afraid of risk, it's all right to bide your time until the price starts to go up. However, if you're too afraid to cut your losses, you might end up with just a scrap of paper. Yeah, shogi rules are really cool. Being able to deploy your opponent's captured pieces. Though in this case, that represents our lives. And our dignity as parents, right? After talking big like that during the telephone call, telling them that they should behave because we'll manage something on our own, we can't just start asking for help right away. That would be very uncool. By this point, I've long since thrown out such useless pride. Why don't we put our heads together? Where is this? Is it really underneath the dining hall? Or else, is it a different place, separate from the mansion? Kraus, Kiri, and Nanja began to discuss it further. Cannon was squatting by the bars, silently trying to sense anyone's presence, just as he had been ordered. Shannon came close to him and they both squatted down together. Do you sense anyone? Yeah. They haven't focused their attention in this direction, but there's someone relatively close by. Is it a human? I think it's the goats. Their breathing is rather noisy. Cannon's ability to sense the presence of others was several levels above that of a human. He said that their breathing was noisy, but Kraus and the rest couldn't even pick up the slightest hint of it. Therefore, if he had obediently reported it, they would have merely doubted Cannon's ears. They got us, didn't they? It's rare to think that they had captured us without killing us. This time, Beatrice didn't make an appearance, and the master left his study. I don't have a clue what's going on. Okay, so they remember the other games. I know. Whatever happens or changes, it's all for that witch's fickle entertainment. In the end, nothing will change. I wonder if we'll be able to go to the Golden Land this time. Who knows? We have a high rate of losing. Come to think of it, it's very rare for us to survive the first Twilight together. I get the feeling that it's incredibly unusual for us to be able to talk together like this, even though the ceremony has already begun. That may be. But even that's just for the witch's entertainment, I'll bet. I can't think of it as anything other than her letting us live just a little longer to ridicule us, since we usually drop out right in the beginning. I wonder if we'll be unable to reach the Golden Land again. I'm sure we won't make it there. If we hold on to any foolish hope, we'll get taken advantage of again. That's right. Last time you got taken advantage of, didn't you? I'm an idiot. Cannon made a sour look and turned his head. Cannon laughed softly and apologetically leaned towards his shoulder. But I'm glad Milady is safe. She's only escaped from the first Twilight. She might just be waiting for an even crueler death later on. What about you, Ne-san? Aren't you glad George is safe? It'd be nice if you two could reach the Golden Land together. Thank you. I wish the same for you and Milady as well. Well, I wasn't hoping for anything like that. It's just as you say. That witch is only having fun, dangling prizes in front of people and watching them vainly try to get them. I'm sure no one will be able to get to the Golden Land. If I wish to reach the Golden Land with Milady, then that person will find it funny, and will certainly never let us reach that place. You're right. Beatrice is thinking about which order of sacrifices will be the most interesting. The whole thing about them being chosen at random is just a blatant lie. That swindling witch. All that about having a wish you granted... Having any wish you want granted in the Golden Land is probably just a lie, too. That's not true. The Golden Land is a wonderful place. Have you been there? Only for a little bit. Though, even that was probably just a joke of Beatrice's. What's it like there? Well, it's wonderful. I can't really explain it well. It's like a world from a pleasant dream. A paradise-like place with roses blooming all over and beautiful butterflies dancing about, or something like that. It's not a place with a tangible image like that. It's really like the inside of a dream. When you're there, it's very gentle, very peaceful, and you're allowed to sleep as long as you want. And when you wake up early on a day off, lying on a futon, sunlight comes in through the cracks in the curtains, and you think you'll have to wake up soon. But then you realize it's your day off, and you can go back to sleep. It's a place where you can feel like that. Not gonna lie, that sounds like the best thing ever. That's exactly what I want. I think it'd be wasted on me. Waking up on accident even though it's your day off is something only you would do, Ne-san. So? Well, when I was there it was very satisfying and very calm. When I returned to the world, even though I had just been there a second ago, I couldn't remember it well. It's like when you can't remember a dream you were having. But I still remember that it was a very calm and quiet world. That's it? What the heck? That Golden Land she's always bragging about isn't anything great at all. I thought it was a place where all your wishes come true. That's right. It's a place where all your wishes will be granted. Well, maybe that's not quite it. It might be better to say it's a place where you won't wish for anything. For example, Cannon, if you were cold and wished you had a jacket, you'd be happy to be given one. But if you were in a warm room to begin with, there wouldn't even be a reason to want a jacket, right? That's what the Golden Land is like. There's no need to even wish for more wishes. It's a world where everything is calm. You could even say it's a place that transcends the concept that having your wishes granted will bring happiness. A world released from everything. 1 second, sorry. Okay. It sounds somewhat like a religious world. And there, everything is equal. Anything that can think is equal. There are no humans, furniture, nor witches. There, I was equal to everyone. There was no longer any need to feel ashamed that I was furniture. It was honestly a happy world where all humans, and even witches, were equal. I can't really remember it well, but I have the feeling that when I was there, I was equal even to Beatrice, and we were good friends. If that witch is there, it can't be much of a paradise. So, you want to go to the the Golden Land with George? How strange. The Golden Land is a utopia where you can be pleased with everything, right? Wouldn't you be content even if George wasn't there? The Golden Land is very calm, peaceful, and everyone is equal. But actually, happiness alone is left out. It isn't a happy world? Of course, just by being peaceful, calm, and equal, it is an incredibly happy world. But I guess you could say that it's a world of zero, where you're released from all negative worries. The human world is filled with negative, so of course a zero world is incredibly happy. But it's still zero. What a luxurious problem to have. It's something like this. When you're nodding off in your quiet holiday morning, if the person you love the most is next to you and holding your hand, then it can become an even greater, more wonderful happiness. Something like that. Sorry, your Nason is too dumb to be any good at analogies. In other words, to you, the greatest happiness would be reaching that world together with George. Yes. And surely for you, it would be reaching that world together with Milady. We'll be released from our worries in a fair world. It's like some kind of strange religion. I'm more worldly minded. I imagine a world where we would be given some magic medicine, and we could be reborn as humans, or something more like that. If you go, you'll understand. If Beatrice really is a fickle person, then surely someday she'll let you get a glimpse of it too. If so, then you'll be able to understand my analogy. Well, I'm not holding my breath. At any rate, it seems like game over for us this time already. I'll hope for another chance. You're right. If we cling to any overambitious hopes, Beatrice will take advantage of us. It might just be best to stop thinking and let fate take care of us. We can just be simple chess pieces. No matter what we think or don't think, we can't escape from that witch's chessboard. Our role is now just to wait and see how we'll be tortured to death. For us, the dream of the Golden Land is too empty. You're right. Sorry. Cannon shrugged his shoulders, then told Shannon to leave him alone because she was in the way of his duty, distancing himself from her. Realizing her thoughtlessness in bringing up such an inappropriate topic and instead hurting Cannon, Shannon bit her lower lip and stared at the ground. Shannon wouldn't bother him anymore. She went off and crouched down in a corner by herself. Aww. At that moment, Cannon perked up. It was like the ears of a cat when it reacted to a strange sound. What's wrong? Kraus, someone's coming. They ended their conversation and strained their ears. For a while, they couldn't hear anything. But eventually, they were able to hear the shuffling sounds of a large group of people walking. So they've come. Time to pay the piper. Or perhaps as this is our first and last chance. I shall talk to Kinzo. I will try somehow to find out where this place is. Oh, what if the two who are close are Nanjo and Kinzo and they end up getting smoked? We're counting on you. During the last phone call, Kiri had asked what the time over at the guest house was. By doing that, Kiri had learned that it was the same as her watch, and they had learned that their watches hadn't been set back. It was just the clocks on the walls in the guest... It wasn't just the clocks on the walls in the guest house. Several people's watches, including George and Goda's, had matched. If that was the case, then it had only been a few minutes between the time of the massacre in the dining hall and the time they had been transported to the dungeon. Not enough time had passed for them to be knocked out and carried away. They were in those... Then were those really pitfalls? Meaning that it was the area directly under the dining hall? It could also have been a 12-hour period, but the guest house wouldn't really make sense for that. And it would have had to be exactly 12 hours apart. All that they could do was pray that Nanjo could find out where this was. They're coming. There's probably... Oh, no. 12 hours wouldn't even work because they were reading it in military time. They were saying 2200. So that wouldn't even check out. I mean, clocks only display 12 hours, but, you know, they would have been... If she said 2200 and it was, like, daylight outside, nobody would have been like, no, actually, it's 10 o'clock, not, you know, 2200. They're coming. There's probably 4 people. The master and the 3 of those who appeared in the dining hall. That's enough. You come back here as well. We'll deal with the rest. Shannon, sorry, but can I have you sit by the phone? Hide it with your skirt. Ah, yes. The shuffling came close, and there was the sound of a large door being opened in the hallway. The light they were apparently carrying illuminated the hall, stroking the walls with sharp, razor-like shadows. And then the light from the lantern they held illuminated the prisoners through the bars. The bars' sharp shadows divided them up lengthwise. There were 4 silhouettes. It was Kinzo, Renove, Virgilia, and Gap. Silence, everyone. Please welcome the head of the Ushiromiya family, Lord Goldsmith. Goldsmith? It's father's pen name. It seems he always signs with it when he's writing those bizarre grimoires. Kinzo made English style. Oh yeah, that makes sense, huh? That's funny. Shouldn't it be Gold Warehouse? Oh god. This dude's tweaking. Kinzo's always freaking. What more is a warehouse than a place to keep things in? However, I give birth to gold and use my craftsmanship to further increase its worth. Don't you think smith is much more fitting? True enough. I apologize for butting in. Kinzo, just what is going on? Where in the world is this? Okay, hold on a second. Kinzo and Goldsmith, right? Because Kinzo, like, essentially, I don't know the exact word for gold, but that's basically the word for gold, right? Isn't it like Kinro or something like that is gold? So I'm wondering if we take, I remember I was talking about names, and I think names are important, and names mean something, right? So if we take some of these names, like Rosa, could Rosa mean something out, like, translation-wise? Like, as a word, could Rosa mean something? And could everybody's westernized, like, Ushiromiya name be, like, kind of translated in a similar way to be, like, their witch name, right? Like, Rosa could be maybe flower, right? Like a rose. And so if there was a witch who had a name like a flower, that could maybe be Rosa's witch name. Similarly, or you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the opposite, like Ro. What does Ro mean? Or, you know, would Rosa, would that, like, mean something? Or Eva. A is like a painting, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking things. Maybe Kinzo is just chuny as hell, and he's like, my name kind of sounds like gold, so I'm gonna be Goldsmith. Oh, my friend, can't you remember? Truly, you may have never entered the prison, but you should remember walking through this corridor. Huh? Do you have an idea? But, well, I do, but it's unthinkable. Firstly, we fell through a pitfall and were locked up in here after only a few minutes. Not only is the distance too great, that's physically impossible. For a human, it's impossible. Father, is this the mansion? To think that the mansion had a basement like this. Did a connection between Bernkastel and Higurashi come up / be told to you yet? No, but I know she said Nippa at one of the tea parties. And the school that someone told me that the school that Angie attended was the same school as the one in Higurashi. Those are the only connections to Higurashi that have been mentioned to me. House, wasn't there a place whose existence you all whispered of, which you followed after me several times trying to find? Yeah, I remember saying that. Oh, it was you. Okay, yeah. This is that place. No, to be correct, this is its basement. So this is the basement of the other castle. Could this place be the basement of Kuwadorian? A splendid observation. This is indeed the basement of Kuwadorian. So Kuwadorian, worth mentioning here, has a bunch of torture equipment and stuff in it. Like, what? And Kinzo built Kuwadorian. So what was Kuwadorian used for? That's where Beatrice was allegedly held in captivity. What is up with this place? It really exists? This mansion was constructed for the sole use of my beloved witch Beatrice. It's truly a shame that I cannot guide you to the above-ground sections, and it is such a beautiful and elegant mansion. How lovely, just the two of them alone in a mansion with a prison like this. I guess father's tastes are a bit more than I can stomach. Kitty, perhaps it would be wiser to refrain from such rude comments. But I agree. If a mansion I was given had this kind of dungeon in it, that'd shake me out even a century-long love, and I'd take anything of value and run. Red flag mansion. Oh my, so you don't have any interest in this kind of thing? And here I was thinking you were head over heels for it. Of course, I go head over heels. Like if I get a collar or something for a birthday present. But only if he's hot. Gap is such a funny character. So she's saying Kinzo's ugly. Silence. Perhaps you could use a gag more than a collar right now. Oh. You have an interest in that too? You sure aren't picky, Leah. Regalia. Well, I guess not really spoilers or anything, but Birkenstell's first name is Frederica, which sounds roughly like Furude Rika. Ah, neat, yeah. Yeah, I don't really intend on playing Higurashi. I don't think that's... Even though it's like same series and stuff, I don't think I'll end up playing that. That's kind of neat. That's a nice little fun fact. Don't go around shorting people's names on your own. Enough, you noisy women. Are you telling me you'd like to be locked up in the same cell? Kinzo's tweaking again. I apologize, master. Oops. This old body of mine would not be able to stand such a cold prison. Regalia quickly apologized, but Gap and Renove merely laughed together. It was like they had thought they alone couldn't be imprisoned. Or else, that even if someone tried to imprison them, it would be pointless. A prison is a place from which captured cannot escape. That implies a strong will and love to not let them go for a lifetime. It's not even worth speaking of love to a woman you could give up if she ran away. A woman who makes you so insane that you don't want to let her escape, to the point of binding her in chains. Yeah, you did this, Kinzo. Because she was worthy of that. She was a love worth sacrificing my life for. I will not ask you to understand. No one can bind me. I will not be bound. I don't want to be loved. I want to love. I feel the same as Goldsmith. That's why I understand the madness of your love. Love and madness are two sides of the same coin. Or so they say. How bothersome. But learning where we are so easily was a big step. We'll ask the details later, but it seems you know about this place, Dr. Nanjo? Yeah. In that hallway, if that hallway is the underground passage beneath Kuwadorian, then if we go straight down it, it will become a long tunnel. And if we stay on that, we should be able to return to the mansion. Then if we just do something about these bars, we could go home. Father, what are you planning to do with us? As I've already declared, you will become sacrifices for the later Twilights. There are conveniently 5 people here. Exactly enough hostages for the 5 gougings. I see. Then it's time for us to pay the piper? Eventually. That's not why I've come to visit you this time, so relax. Besides, I believe I have said it already. If one of my grandchildren is deemed suitable to inherit everything from me, then the ceremony will be called off. In other words, your lives will be spared. Well, what are you planning on doing to the children? I shall give them a test. A test to see if they are suitable to be successor or not. If even one of them can surprise me, I'll call the ceremony off. Oh, I bet Maria ends up passing the test. I bet she shows her magical prowess and passes the test. If there isn't anyone suitable, what are you planning on doing with them? There's no need to worry about that. After all, you all will be sacrificed first. How could anything happen that happens after that concern you? Entrust your fates to your own children. Your children, the embodiment of what you've born, taught and raised. They should be the most suitable ones for you to entrust with your fate. Don't look so worried, Kraus. Believe in the daughter that you brag is worth 10 billion yen. Exactly. Children are the embodiment of their parents. It's fitting that we put our fates in their hands. Lambda Delta also has a name connection to Higurashi, but that one is a lot harder to explain. It's fitting that we put our fates in their hands. That applies even to you, father, right? This girl has guts. What a waste on Rudolph. Kitty, it would be best not to aggravate him too much. I agree. Let's bear with it for now. That's right. After all, we're just fish on the chopping board. There's nothing we can do now. Ha. Though you can insult me with such vigor. I don't dislike that kind of woman, see? Beatrice was like that too. In the beginning. Master, perhaps we should get back to the main topic. We've been off track for a while now. Ah, yes, there was that. Sorry, my friend. Well then, back to the main event. For that, I've prepared a phone. Shannon, how clever of you. You don't have to hide it any longer. That's something I arranged for. My apologies. Shannon quickly withdrew herself and the telephone was revealed. Kraus, call the grandchildren in the guest house. Tell them of the test and of the start of my trial. Renove motion for Kraus to pick up the receiver. And if I say no? Oh! And why do you think you are in a position to negotiate? If you don't make the call, then the grandchildren won't even be given a chance. The Ushirimiya family will end here. And I'll sacrifice you all right away. You'd be lucky to become sacrifices right away. Don't you think it'd be more painful to watch the children get sacrificed first, before your very eyes? Gap. The master is the one who decides the sacrifice order. Don't say things on your own. Leah? You just tried to shorten my name, didn't you? No. I told you not to shorten other people's names on your own. Women are truly noisy. The goat, Renault. Chapter N. Now we're in 98. We'll do one more chapter tonight. As it's getting a little late, most of these chapters take about an hour. So we'll do another chapter. I'm going to run an ad break while I do that and go refill my water and clear my throat. I will be back in 3 minutes and we'll do one more chapter tonight. I'm back. Get it. We are in the future. The clinic that Nanjo had opened and later passed on to his son still existed in Nijima. Whoa, okay. This aged doctor was Nanjo's son, but the atmosphere about him was very different. Whoa, Nanjo's son. Nanjo Masayuki. Nanjo's son inherited the Nanjo clinic. Unlike Nanjo, he seems to be a more sobered, indifferent person. After the rampage surrounding Rokkenjima, he grew to completely despise the press, and had never spoke again of what happened around that time. He once had a daughter afflicted with an incurable disease, but unfortunately she wasn't able to live out her natural lifespan. Oh, that's Nanjo's granddaughter! She was sick. Sorry to say that after you've come all this way, but I have nothing in particular to tell you. Nanjo's son said that very indifferently. After the accident on the island was taken up by the broadcast in most indiscreet manner, even my father, who was Mr. Ushiromiya's doctor and friend, was focused upon by many who with wholly regrettable interest. All of it was without proof, and they even managed to defile all of my father's previous achievement. I still felt a great deal of resentment because of that. I think that's understandable. The same thing happened to me. I had to put up with it constantly since I was 6. True. My apologies. The doctor finally remembered that Angie was also a victim who had been exposed to the same curious eyes as he had been. In that case, you could probably understand why I don't want to have anything to do with the incident. That was an unfortunate accident. The only ones who wanted to make a fuss about it being a crime are those irresponsible TV shows and magazines. I am more than fed up with their attitude. Nanjo had been bathed with attention for being one of Ushiromiya Kinzo's few friends. Because of that, there was probably an aggressive and persistent rush among the witch hunters and the press to use Nanjo's son as well, a surviving relative, as source of information. The doctor went on, criticizing the press indignantly. I really understand how you feel. For a person like me, who was observed even in her personal life, and whose privacy, likeness, and even human rights might have been violated, it's really easy to pick up on the anger of someone in your position. And for that very reason, I want to know, more than anything else, what in the world happened in the incident that so thoroughly ruined my life. So I came here. I am a related party, just like you. Not a magazine columnist, not an interviewer. Please, don't get the wrong idea. I didn't come to do this for fun. Quit looking down on me. If we're gonna argue over whose life was more screwed up by the incident, you're no match for me. Angie spoke sharply. The doctor, who hadn't imagined that he would be talked back to in such a forceful manner, couldn't help but fall silent. From Angie's perspective, the doctor really was winning over nothing. Or whining. Excuse me. The doctor really was whining over nothing. She really didn't want to be looked down upon. It was about time to let him understand how many days had passed for her before arriving on the island. The doctor realized that he'd said something wrong and remained silent for a while, looking uncomfortable. I know it's probably painful to remember what happened at the time, but if there's anything you do know, please tell me, no matter what it is. Of course, I'll keep quiet about it. I visited here today to bring some resolution to my life. I'm 18. That incident took away 12 years of my life, and it'll probably keep on taking. Since that day when I was 6 years old, I've remained shut away in darkness. And you saying that, despite that, I still don't have a right to know? No. That's rude of me. It seems that since all the others who came up were ill-natured folk, I instinctively put up my guard. I apologize for my rudeness. I understand. If you swear not to breathe a word of this to anyone, I'll tell you everything. Thank you, Doctor. Then if you would, please, tell me anything you can. Oh, he's got info. As you know, my father was not only Mr. Ushiromiya's head physician, but his friend through the game of chess. The relationship was very long, stretching back to the time Mr. Ushiromiya moved to Rokenjima. Well, just how close were they? Very close, it seems. It seems the connection through chess led my father to stay at Mr. Ushiromiya's mansion quite often. As though, although I might not be one to talk, Mr. Ushiromiya was extremely moody. And my father was an exceedingly magnanimous man who excelled at interacting with humans like him. It's not hard to imagine that there was a rare friend for the isolated Mr. Ushiromiya. That day was the day of the family conference. At the Ushiromiya family conference, the inheritance and how it would be distributed were rigorously discussed, making it almost like a financial conference. Which means Dr. Nanjo must have gained a trust so great that he was asked to attend even that, right? My father was a simple doctor, so I cannot imagine that he was in a position to advise on the distribution of wealth for a massively rich family like the Ushiromiya's. He was most likely called there to assist with Mr. Ushiromiya's health, because it was not at the best at the time. As Kinzo's close friend, I'm sure my father would have kept his mouth shut, and that he would have trusted not to leak the secrets of the family conference. Wasn't Ushiromiya Kinzo in very bad health at the time? Were there any medical charts left behind? Perhaps he brought the medical charts with him on the day of the accident. I'm afraid to say that the entire folder of Mr. Ushiromiya's medical charts has been lost. He was my father's patient, so I do not know the details. Around the time of the incident, did anything strange happen? Yes, there was one thing. However, it seems exceedingly likely to invite misunderstandings, so I very much do not wish to discuss it. What is it? Please, tell me. For a while, the doctor beat around the bush, but after saying that much, he wouldn't be able to fool Angie by dodging the subject. He eventually gave in, and after making Angie swear herself to secrecy again, told her. The truth is, several days after that accident, I received something by mail at my home. Whoa. Lambda Delta is Lambda Delta, the Greek numeral for 34, which matches up with Higurashi Takano's first name, Sanyon, also 34, and Draconius Verdrisig, 430 in German, but more likely to be interpreted as Verundrsig 34. That is neat. By mail? It was very curious. The sender was made out to be me, but I had no memory of it. Someone had faked my name and sent it. The destination was Ruben Island in Hokkaido. Yeah, I love stuff like that. It's just like the level of effort required to put stuff like that in, even if it's just like on a whim of the creator, but to stay consistent with it and stuff, that's super cool. When I really liked Doctor Who in college, I was a huge fan of little Easter eggs that they would like put into different episodes, you know, connections to like previous doctors or like previous characters or like lineages that they kind of, or background characters that they kind of like kept the history of up just by like sneaking in little things like that. Excluding the Northern Territories is at the northernmost tip of Japan. The recipient was apparently a resident of Ruben Island, but the name was my father's. So wait. The sender was made out to be me, but I had no memory of it. Someone had faked my name and sent it. Oh, Angie was made out to be the sender. Hold on now. So it was a faked letter from Angie sent to Nanjo. However, it seemed that there was a problem with the destination address, so it was stamped as address unknown and returned to the sender, me. Oh no! Nanjo's son was the sender, and it was returned to Nanjo's son, even though it was trying to be sent to Nanjo randomly on Ruben Island. Yeah, he's clearly like genius storyteller. I could never create something like this. It was a truly strange tale. Nanjo's son's name was written as the sender. However, he said that he hadn't mailed it. In short, that meant someone had faked his name and sent it. The destination was Nanjo Teramasa on Hokkaido's Ruben Island, but the lot number written on it didn't exist. So the local post office had been unable to deliver it and instead sent it back to the sender, Nanjo's son. And what was inside? I do ask that you keep silent about this. It is extremely troublesome to me as well, and even so I cannot throw it away. The doctor stood up and faced a bookshelf. There was packed a group of dictionaries that could only be ornamental, meant to make it very clear that the owner was an intellectual. When he pulled several volumes out from there, a large brown envelope peeked out from behind them. He took that out and tossed it onto the desk. It had been carefully sealed with the cellophane tape, and its faded color and dryness made it clear that it had been sealed 12 years ago. I asked most solemnly for your silence on this matter. Being so persistent that it was annoying, the doctor removed the seal with a paper knife. Then, when he tilted the envelope, an already opened mail envelope spilled out. The envelope had a weight to it, hinting that there was something other than a letter inside. The recipient was certainly Nanjo. Just seeing that was a huge shock. Following that incident, Nanjo's corpse had not been found, and he had eventually been treated as dead after going missing under extraordinary circumstances. And despite that, this letter addressed to a Nanjo in Hokkaido did exist. One could almost take it as a sign that he had faked his own death and escaped to Hokkaido. Was Dr. Nanjo really in Hokkaido? Or else, was there another person with the same first and last name in Hokkaido? If my father had somehow escaped from the accident and lived on in Hokkaido, that would have made us of his family very happy, regardless of the circumstances. I also thought of that possibility at first. However, this envelope's destination address does not exist. In short, this envelope was mail that had no way of reaching him. Is there a possibility that the sender miswrote the address? Oh, of course. I can't deny that. However, judging from the resident's house number, I find that hard to believe. Hokkaido, Ruben Island, Ruben County, Ruben City, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's definitely Fakey McFake Street. Up until Ruben City, it's fine. But I just couldn't wipe away the feeling that the sequential number after it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, was a little insincere. It felt like a fake number that some kid had made up. They probably wrote a nonsense number that clearly didn't exist. I think it's natural to assume that from the very beginning this envelope was sent to a non-existent residence in which it had no chance to be delivered. If the destination address didn't exist, mail is generally returned to sender. But even in the case of an incomplete address, the local post office will often courteously, and to the best of its ability, research to find where the sender's intended destination exists. When they still couldn't find it, the mail is sometimes returned after an investigation of several days. It seems that the same thing happened with this envelope, and the stamp was postmarked October 3rd, before the incident. It was postmarked on Nijima. Nijima was a long way away from Ruben Island, and on top of that, the destination was also nonsensical. It had taken more than a week for the mail to be returned. In other words, there was probably a high chance that having the envelope returned to the sender after an unfixed amount of time had been the goal from the very beginning. Why do something like that? Even before asking what it was that had been sent, this envelope already was wrapped in mystery. What's inside of it? Go ahead. After getting the doctor's permission, I lifted the already opened envelope. From inside came a small folded letter and a small key with a number plate attached. Then a magnetic card slid out. A112 was engraved in the key's number plate. I didn't know what it meant. The magnetic card was pitch black and had gold characters engraved on it. Members was written in English. The jet black gold letter card design made it feel like something very high class. But of course, I didn't have a clue what kind of card it was just from that. I unfolded the letter. The contents were extremely brief, and only the following was written. 0715. Oh, man. These were the numbers on Rokkenjima. On the door. Yeah. These were the numbers on the door. I think in episode 2? Episode 3, maybe? I want to say it was episode 2 on the door where Hideyoshi and Eva were murdered. And there's a members was written in English. The magnetic card was pitch black and had gold characters engraved on it. A112. Almost like a storage unit. Also written on the name was a certain massive bank known throughout Japan, as well as the words Central Branch. That was all. It's a card, a key, and a pin for a safe deposit box. Oh. And it isn't a normal safe deposit box either. It was an unsettling one, which was apparently reserved only for special clients. After he finished putting his affairs in order following his father's funeral, he had visited the bank, pin and key card in hand. There was no doubt that something of great importance was kept there, and he had been naturally curious about what it might be. At first, he hadn't known what to do. The card wasn't something he'd owned in the first place. When he mustered up his courage and showed the card to the bank clerk, he was then switched to a clerk of clearly high status and was guided to a large vault in the 4th basement. The security on the way there was strict. The doctor had himself stored valuable items such as real estate transcripts and safe deposit boxes before. But this was something on a whole different level. Unlike the procedure at the deposit box that I had been using, with this system, as long as you had a card, a pin, and a key, you don't need to have your identity confirmed. But anyway, I was frightened at how imposing the secure vault was. And I wondered what kind of shady objects might await me that had to be stored in a place like this. And then, when I passed the card through the reader, I was asked to input the pin. Okay. If this is a closed room puzzle set up by Beatrice, I concede. If she set up a 12-year closed room with the bank, the pin, the key card, the letter, I have no explanation. I concede. And after that 8-digit number was input and authenticated, I was permitted access to the vault. It was an incredible scene. A world like something from a sci-fi movie. The massive, dimly lit silver room was covered with doors and safes. He had entered the room along with the clerk. It seemed as though the card was red, the vaults he had a right to were determined. So the safes he could open were lit with green light, while those he couldn't open were lit with red. A112 was one of those safes that were marked. By the way, there were several other safes marked with a green lamp besides that one. I think there were at least 20. There might even been more in the other corner. In any event, I only had the key to A112. I had no way of checking the contents of the other safes. As the clerk watched, the doctor had unlocked and opened the safe. When he did, a safe drawer-like large cabinet had opened. An expensive-looking duralumin case peeked out. That was carried into a separate room where for the first time the clerk left and he was introduced to the contents. And the contents were? Cash. Cash! How much? I have heard that pack of 1 million yen in fresh banknotes is precisely 1 centimeter thick. Since these were packed tightly in a duraluminum case of such a size, there was probably 100 million yen in total. I don't know because I didn't count. I didn't even touch it with my hands. I realized at once, this was dangerous money. It isn't normal to store a whole 100 million yen in cash in a case in a safe like that. It's much easier to deal with if you put it into an account and turn it into numbers. When someone was unable to do that, then it's clear that there's something wrong with the cash. My mind went blank and I instantly realized that I mustn't get involved. So, you didn't use it at all? Correct. I locked it back up just as I'd found it, returned it to the original safe, and left. I have thought about throwing away that key and card, but I don't know what will happen. For that reason, I've been hiding in the back of this bookcase for a full 12 years. I still don't know what kind of money that was. Could I borrow this envelope? No. Please just view it here. Understood. Then, if you'll excuse me, there's something I want to investigate. I took Onechan's grimoire from the knapsack I had set down. Then I opened the page with the paragraph Beatrice had written to Onechan and compared the handwriting on both. There was no mistake about the characteristic handwriting. The one who had sent this 100 million yen in cash was Beatrice herself. But what is it? Something's bugging me. What is it? What could it be? The number. What the who are you? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got something like that in the mail. Hey Ma, where'd you put that? The same envelope and contents had been sent to Kumasawa's son. Oh, this is Kumasawa's son who had once lived with her. Kumasawa Sabakichi. Kumasawa's son who works at the... Sabakichi? That almost sounds like one of Maria's other friends, but it might have been Sakukichi. Was there a Sakuyuki? And a Sakusuki? Hold on now. Maria talked about other friends besides Sakutaro. And I want to say their names almost sounded like these, but I might be tripping. Kumasawa's son works at the Nijima fishing harbor. He must have gotten his carefree, big-hearted personality from Kumasawa. Many of her sons are fishermen, so they're often away from land for their work. This one happens to work at the harbor, so it was the only coincidence that I managed to get in touch with him. Kumasawa loved to talk, so I do hope he might have heard her. I had hoped that he'd heard something from her, but alas. So all the servants, children, and next of kin got money. Sent to Kumasawa's son who once lived with her, but he hadn't been very busy with the dates since and seemed to have forgotten about it while running around all over the place. However, its strange contents apparently stayed in his memory, and he remembered as soon as Angie mentioned it to him. After a bit of a wait, his thin-lipped wife found the envelope, complaining that he always forgot where he put things right away. Modus operandi for the sender and recipient was the same as Nanjo's son's. The sender was made out to be Kumasawa's son, and the recipient was Kumasawa Chiyo, and the destination address was in Okinawa Prefecture, 123456-7. This was at the westernmost tip of Japan, and the lot name was the exact same sequential number that had apparently been chosen without much care. Now it was certain. The envelope was definitely sent with the goal of having it be returned to sender. Contents were exactly the same. A letter with the pin and the bank's main branch written on it, a magnetic card, a key with an attached number plate. The inscription was A113, the number right after the one that was given to Nanjo. Most likely, inside the vault was the same kind of duraluminum case packed with 100 million yen in cash. I get the feeling my dead mother sent it to me from beyond the grave. Don't really get what's inside, and it's creepy, so I just left it alone all the time, and I totally forgot about it until today. Do you know what this is, girl? Could it be that same kind of thing came to your place? What is it, Angie? Is it a headache? Sorry, my head hurts. I've got it, you know. What do you mean, you know? You don't mean this envelope came to your place too, Angie? I've remembered. A strange envelope was also sent to me 12 years ago. After losing my entire family, I was depressed. But it was a really strange thing to come in the mail, and I still had a faint memory of it. It was a strange letter which had no memory of sending, but which had me as the sender. I forgot the destination address, but the named recipient had just been Ushiromiya Rudolph, my father. I remember how disturbed I was when I got a letter I thought was from father, opened it up, and found a key and a card that I didn't really understand. I let it down and threw it away somewhere, I think. Where did I put that envelope? I probably lost it somewhere in the chaos that followed. By now, I have no way of checking its contents. However, I have a general idea. I'm sure the contents were the same. Without a doubt, there had been a key, a card, and a pin. Beatrice. What is she trying to do here? So, Did she hand out the stupid money to all the surviving relatives? I won't forgive her for mocking them, even after their deaths. Sakataro acted nervously. As I looked at this worrying face, my agitation began to cool off bit by bit. I'm sorry. My hatred of Beatrice isn't anything new. I was just surprised and angry to find out that I had a connection with the witch already, and the age of 6 on that day. For the past 12 years, you've been constantly enslaved by Beatrice's curse. This might be proof of that curse. But please, hang in there. Breaking through this was supposed to be part of the goal of this journey. That's right. Just letting the blood rise to my head won't get me anywhere. Gotta think calmly. What's going on? What's the meaning of handing out 100 million yen to the relatives? Is she trying to provoke us? I'd like to think about this for a second, too. It was postmarked October 3rd. That was the first day of the family conference. So it was sent out the day that they all went to Rokkenjima. It was all sent out by the same person. And it was sent out by this person who knew people would be dying. Has to be Kinzo or Beatrice that sent it out. And Angie confirmed that it's Beatrice's handwriting on it. So whoever is Beatrice, which I think might be Maria? Maria might be the one who sent out these letters. Now, the 100 million yen... It takes a lot of 100 million yens to get to 10 billion yen. It takes 100 of them, actually. 100 million yens would get you to 10 billion yen, which I believe is the approximated worth of the gold fortune. I think it was 10 billion. So this could be... Kinzo knew that the family conference was going to end in bloodshed, and knew that also the fortune was going to be distributed during this family conference. So he sent out these letters for anyone who might be on that island and might survive to get a share of the fortune. And maybe the challenge is to get as many of those letters as possible. Oh, yes, and Nanjo. Think about this. Nanjo... it's the son of Nanjo, said about 20 of them were lit up for him. And he didn't say, like, all of them. So, if about 20 of them were lit up for him, maybe that's about a fifth. Maybe there's 100 cases of 10 million yen. Or no. Sorry. Wait, 100 cases of 100 million yen. Yeah, that would be right. 100 cases of 100 million yen. And because certain people died, he was now entitled to 20 of them. Perhaps there was some hierarchy where, you know, relative of Nanjo gets Nanjo's granddaughter's one, gets maybe one of the servants' ones, maybe gets Kinzo's one, if Kinzo made it out of that. Angie gets 20 of them because she gets Rudolph's and Kiri's and Battler's, and maybe Jessica and Krause's, and maybe all the Ushiromiya ones. Kumasawa's son gets some amount of them. So maybe the number of green lit things was based on remaining survivors, and there was a hierarchy of who gets what. Angie, calm down. As Sakataro buried his head in my stomach, he urged me to stay calm. I took another deep breath and started thinking. But in that case, why would Angie only get one? Do we know that she only got one? Did she even go check it out? I don't think she even went and checked it out. You get one key card with like a number on them. How would they have sent them from before the incident? Well, they would just send it to everybody, right? I guess the mystery there is... Yeah, I guess the mystery there is how are there not hundreds of these letters floating around, or dozens of these letters floating around, right? I wonder if the envelope was sent to support the theory that Beatrice was behind the crime. It was postmarked right before the family conference, and it was intentionally set up so that they would be sent back after some time. They wanted it to arrive after the incident. Yeah, this is a big-ass closed room. That's what it implies. But it raises a few questions. Why use such an uncertain method? Uncertain? Yeah. After all, no one could even guess as to how many days it would take for the mail to return before you used this trick. Normally, you couldn't even guess at the amount of time it would take for the receiving post office to do their research, determine the recipient was unknown, and return it. They got one keycard and one passcode, which let you into the room, but also one key that opened one safe. Nanjo's son said about 20 of them were lit up green for him. Maybe I'm misinterpreting that. But my interpretation of that is that multiple safes were accessible when he walked into that room and was left alone. And he just grabbed A1112 because it was or 112 because of what was on his key, but he could have grabbed other ones. Yeah, now that you mention it, it'd be more dependable if we just set an arrival date and mailed it that way. Maybe, but still. If they mailed it the day before, then no matter how quickly it returned, it would probably arrive Monday or later. I wonder if they wanted to make it seem like a letter from the dead. Letter from the dead, you say? You're right. It surprised me and made me feel bad. Some mail with my dead family's name written on the outside in large letters was thrown into the mailbox with an ominous label attached. However, it doesn't really make sense to me. I would have mailed it to arrive on a specified day. I just can't understand why someone would allow the uncertainty of it arriving on a day other than the one they imagined. Uryu. But it really does sound like Beto to me. Huh? You know about Beto? Well, I only talked with her a little, so I can pretty much accept that Beto would do something like this. Can't you imagine that happening too, Maman? Beto likes pranks like this, right? My interpretation has always been that all of the keycards and passcodes were the same, but the key only opens the marked safe. Maybe initially, yeah. I'm not sure. I might have to reread it or think about it a little bit, or see what they end up revealing with it. Yeah, that might be true. I wouldn't put it past Beatrice to try a vicious prank like a letter from the dead. No, that's not all. Beatrice would find it more interesting to do it through an uncertain method, instead of one that was absolutely certain. She would find an uncertain method. Interesting. Also, what does that number mean, the pin? I remember Maria Onechan's diary. It had described playing with Beatrice very often. During those times, Beto sometimes played pranks on the adult relatives with Maria, but those pranks always had a touch of witch aesthetics, which was that they were more interesting when they were uncertain. One day, Maria and Beto decided to use a wind-up mini car she had bought for a prank. It was a popular toy at the time, and if you made the mini car back up, it would wind up the spring in the tires, and when you let go, it would race forwards. They had wound up the mini car and set it behind a milk jug. In other words, the prank was that if you lifted the milk jug, the mini car would jump forwards and surprise whoever did it. Hoping that someone would get caught in this prank, Onechan and Beto had watched the adults from the shadows the whole time. The whole tea time. But they were looking forward to seeing someone get caught by it. But no one moved the trapped milk jug and the trap ended in a misfire. When Onechan had then muttered, "We shouldn't put it somewhere where it would have definitely caught someone," Beto apparently said this: "The most interesting and thrilling traps are those where you don't know who will get caught, and even if anyone will get caught at all." That is so Beto. It's probably true that you wouldn't get this kind of excitement from a trap that would certainly go off. Similar accounts occurred in multiple places, making it possible to guess that the witch called Beatrice had a fickle character and loved a random thrill. A fickle person is very hard to deal with. I can't spin the chessboard around to find out what that witch from 12 years ago was planning. As Angie examined these, her gaze darted from place to place. Then she suddenly showed interest in the wall. There, several framed pictures were hung. Many of them were commemorative photos from when the relatives of the Kumasawa family gathered or went somewhere to play, and Kumisawa was in several. And she still wore a smile that made it so you could almost hear her lighthearted oh-ho-ho laugh. It's part of my distant memory, but I definitely remember that she was this sort of cheerful old lady. Did you notice anything different about Kumasawa in the days leading up to the incident? No. She looked the same as ever. The family conference put her on edge, so she was always grumbling about how tough it was. What's this? Among the several frames, there was one that had something other than a picture of people in it. It was a picture of an enlarged relief of a door from a Western-style house. You couldn't see any interesting subject in particular. which actually bugged me a bit as I wondered why anyone had gone through all the trouble of taking it. As I got closer, I realized that some characters had been written with a pen. Oh yeah, that's a photo I got when Mother's belongings were distributed. I think it probably has something to do with that Legend of the Gold thing. The witch's epitaph? It was whispered that it pointed out the location of the hidden 10 tons of gold. So Kumasawa tried to solve it too? But this isn't the epitaph. This is the first time I've seen this. There was an arch above the Western-style door, and that's where the relief was. English words were engraved there, and that seemed to be what the picture was focused on. The pen writing appeared to be a translation into Japanese. This door is opened only at a probability of a quadrillion to 1. You will be blessed only at a probability of a quadrillion to 1. I don't recognize it. Nothing like this ever showed up in the epitaph or One-chan's diary. In Mother's belongings, there was quite a few photos and notes that looked like that was her trying to solve the riddle of the epitaph. Mother was actually surprisingly fond of that kind of thing. And there was the rumor that 10 tons of gold bars were hidden somewhere. It's no surprise that she got absorbed by it. In both Maria's diary and in her grimoire, there was a description of the witch's epitaph. It had talked about how it was a ceremony to open the door to the Golden Land, Beatrice's resurrection ceremony, her succession ceremony, on and on. Maybe the most interesting one was the last part, about it being a succession ceremony. According to Beatrice, if you were able to solve the witch's epitaph, you would receive not only the 10 tons of gold and the Ushirumiya family inheritance, but her own magical power and name, as well as the title of Golden Witch. Among the Ushirumiya family household at the time, the witch's epitaph was thought of as a difficult quiz, which the family head Kinzo had arranged for her to choose a successor. But with the Marriage Sorcière interpretation, the questioner was Beatrice herself, and she had posed the question in part to choose her successor. There was slight discrepancies in the details of the two interpretations. Either way, its ominous contents brought into mind a bloody serial murder, and both of the message bottles drew a tale of a crime following that pattern. It could solve the witch's epitaph now. If I could solve the witch's epitaph now, 12 years later, I wonder if it could expose some plot made back then. I tried to solve it many times myself, but I never did have a clue what it meant. It seems that many witch hunters tried as well. I also found theories like the La Plata theory and the Inura theory in certain books. However, none of these theories were conclusive. Are there any other materials? I think so, but they were all split up between my siblings. I don't have a clue who has what. Sorry. Just reading the English text that Kumasawa took a picture of, it gives the impression that this was a forbidden door that was rarely opened. But where in the mansion is it, I wonder? Judging by the lighting, it looks like it's outside. I wonder if Kumasawa thought that the gold might be hidden in there. Who knows? Either way, I do wonder where in Rokkenjima Mansion it was. I hate to say it, but there wasn't enough money in Mother's bank account to make me think she found the gold. She probably didn't find it after all. The Golden Witch Beatrice gave 10 tons of gold to Kinzo, which meant that the witch was the true owner of the gold. Beatrice was the owner of all the vast fortune of the Ushirumiya family. The witch holding this vast wealth had massacred the humans on Rokkenjima on that day, sending large amounts of money to the surviving relatives like it was a game. Like hell, it's a letter from the dead. This is a desecration of the dead. I was once again convinced. When my family died on that island that day, they didn't go to heaven. They're being trapped by the witch even now, and are being desecrated and tormented for all eternity. The last place Angie visited was a store in the region between the housing district and the retail stores, with a signboard saying Marufuku Sleep Shop. Second. I would buy some sleep. Same. Oh, okay, excuse me. There lived the man who had been the boat captain of the ferry boat to Rokkenjima at the time. Even he, who had once lived as a man of the sea, had retired after contracting a serious illness, and was now taking care of at the house of his son and his son's wife. I remember it very well. Kawabata, Captain Kawabunga. An old man who used to be a captain of a high-speed boat that went to and from Rokonjima. At least among those still alive, he's certainly the person most familiar with Rokonjima. The media hoped he might have learned details of the situation from the servants. However, he never said anything, so they eventually began to forget this old man. I remember it very well. You're about this small. Look how much you've grown. And it must have been very tough on you. I know very well how you must feel. The former boat captain was in such high spirits that you couldn't really tell why he had retired in the first place. His memory seemed clear too, and he could remember the events of more than a decade ago well, apparently even about how Angie had been at the time. The way he chatted on was very helpful for Angie. But at the same time, he also remembered the final family conference very well, and the fact that he remembered even details like Battler's fall madness on the boat was actually painful for her. It had been so back then as well, but even now, there was no public way to cross to Rokonjima. It was necessary to make an individual request to an owner of a boat to make the voyage. I had been unable to arrange for a boat to Rokonjima. So if he refused me, such a voyage would probably become hopeless. I get you. It won't be easy to find a boat eager to go to that island. By now, there are some who call it by its old name, Akujikishima, instead of Rokonjima. It's understandable why the sailors around here would turn down your request. From the start, fishermen had feared Rokonjima as an island of misfortune, and because of that incident 12 years ago, this fear had reached its peak. They respected the sea, feared it, and revered it. There were almost no sailors who would try to take a boat to the cursed island. Because of that, most of the witch hunters were unable to cross over to Rokonjima, and were limited to taking a trip around the island. Ironically, this had caused the sense of mystery surrounding Rokonjima to increase even more, which had resulted in the propagation of the bizarre witch stories they loved so much. Why would you take me in your boat? Or would you take me in your boat? Yep. They're supposed to give it back to me just for tomorrow. Though it seems the engine had been in a pretty bad mood lately. I'll knock it into shape. The former boat captain promised that tomorrow he would go back to his previous job and take his boat out to Rokonjima. Now, my method of transport to Rokonjima is insured. This is probably all I can do on Nijima. All that's left is tomorrow. On Rokonjima, I'll reach the final destination of a journey that stretches back 12 years. Isn't that great? This way, it looks like you'll be able to go to the island. It sure does. I heard that it would be hard to find a boat, so the boat captain's helpfulness really saved me. Although it may not be the same as it was for you, Angie. I'm sure the incident 12 years ago has been a thorn from the boat captain as well, one that he still hasn't been able to pull out. Uryu. Even the boat captain wasn't able to sort out his feelings this whole time. That's probably true. If that guy had taken his boat out on October 5th as promised, there's a chance that he could have saved a lot of people. If he hadn't been hesitant to go just because of a little wind. Uryu, you shouldn't say things like that. I'm sure that's pained the boat captain constantly until today. Apparently, they truly had been right in the middle of a typhoon on October 5th. But the family had been very persistent about the date of their conference, which had been determined beforehand. According to the boat captain, he had known for certain that they'd be trapped by the typhoon if they went on October 4th. It was only natural. All of the relatives had been very busy at the time, and they came to the family conference only after arranging their schedules beforehand. It was probably a situation where they couldn't easily push it back to next week, just because a typhoon was approaching. It wasn't the boat captain's fault, but perhaps you could say that he wasn't so irresponsible that he could place the blame wholly on the typhoon. Certainly, just as these two said, there is no doubt that the boat captain had been dragging the events of 12 years ago along with him this whole time. And by taking me, the last member of the Ushirimiya line, to the island, and bringing me back safely, he might be trying to find some resolution of the past. The boat is supposed to return just after noon. I'll guide you to Rokonjima after that, so we should arrive before evening. It's an island without electricity or lights. You won't be able to stay long. Will you be satisfied with a landing that short? There's nothing that would make me more satisfied by staying longer. I'm grateful just to have you take me there. Yep. Don't mention it. If I hadn't parted with my boat, I'd be able to guide you to the island as much as you liked, without being stingy. It's not like I have a goal of doing something in particular on Rokonjima, so I'll be there during the evening. The evening, which straddles the two different worlds of day and night, seemed almost like a borderline between this world and the next. Or possibly between 1998 and 1986. And it felt like the most fitting time to visit Rokkenshima. It's not like I have anything in particular to do there. Just staying there for a few hours should be enough for me to find some closure. At the time, there was a small knock on the paper sliding door, and Amakusa stuck his head in, tapping his watch. I nodded back and told him about how I had succeeded in reserving a boat for tomorrow. That's great. It's about time for us to go. We'll be counting on you tomorrow, Captain. Sure, leave it to me. I've heard all about what you guys have gone through. I also watched the talk shows at the time, and was disgusted by the people who stirred up that incident just for fun. I'll help out any way I can. Thank you very much. Then we'll see you at noon tomorrow. Here. The fare for the boat. Angie took a wrapped wad of 10,000 yen bills from her pocket. The boat captain should have noticed its thickness as well, but he paid it absolutely no interest and shook his head. I'm grateful to you. This is a sign from the heavens. I've been given a final chance to take you to Rokkenshima and bring you back safely. Now, I'll finally be able to finish that final job Kinzo entrusted me with. So I'm grateful to you. I got more than enough money from Kinzo back then. I can't accept yours. Thank you very much. Watch your step on the stairs. It's steep. I went down the steep staircase that was the exact opposite of accessible. It was getting hard to believe that there was actually a chest of drawers and a TV in the room upstairs. Most of the first floor was a bedding store with many futons piled up on top of each other. We weaved our way through the cramped futon shop. After cautiously checking around outside, Amakusa dashed out first and started up the car. My grandchild's room is empty. I really wouldn't mind if you stayed there. As you see, we got plenty of extra futons. Thanks a lot for the offer. But this way, even if the unexpected happens, you won't be bothered. I don't know the details, but it seems you've been caught up in a lot of trouble. There's a rumor that some suspicious people are searching for someone. That wouldn't happen to be you, would it? Who knows? Angie played dumb, but it looked as though the boat captain had guessed. My job is to take guests to Rokkenshima and bring them back again. That job was put on hold 12 years ago. Still hasn't ended. Thanks to you, I'm finally able to finish it. So listen, let me finish this job, okay? Do you understand me? Yeah. It's not like I'm going there to die. But part of me does feel that if I could die on the island, I'd surely be able to go to where my family is. I finally become aware of it. I might have been planning to die on that island. I might have come all this way, headed towards Rokkenshima, in search of a place to die. The boat captain had guessed that as well. That's why he repeatedly told me not to die. Yeah, I won't die. I promise. Hi, Fat Garlic. Welcome. Thank you for the first-time chat. Such red flags? Yeah. After all, I'm still not sure if there's any reason why I need to go to Rokkenshima. No, I'm sure there's a reason. Even if there isn't one for you, there's one for them. The island called you. That's why you came here. That might be true. I might have been called. I was called. But for what reason? For them? Father? Mother? Battler? And Maria? Or maybe the Golden Witch is calling me. Beatrice. What's on Rokkenshima? And what will I achieve? Even though tomorrow is finally almost here, I still haven't been able to understand my own mission. There was the sound of the car stopping in front of the store, and a short honk could be heard. Then I'll see you tomorrow, if you'll excuse me. Yep. Winding between the stacks of futons in the cramped store, I was able to go outside. Then, my feet stopped. What's up? What is that? That? What do you see? What are you talking about? Trembling all over, I pointed at it. But no matter how much the boat captain squinted, he noticed absolutely nothing in the direction that should have surprised me. That must mean... Impossible. Why? Who do you? Angie? What does it mean? What's going on here? I don't have a clue either. There's no way something that ridiculous. Is this magic? A miracle? Yes, this is probably fate. Now I understand. This was my mission. Would you? I don't have a clue what... Shaking, I pointed up at the thin darkness inside the store and froze up. What is it? You see something, don't you? I don't see anything. What is it you see? Thank you, Captain. Everything. Everything was fate. Even me visiting this place was fate. This is the mission and the purpose that I'm going to Rokunjima for. Enji? What is it? Is something wrong? I don't have a clue either. The girl just froze up while pointing into the darkness. Angie, are you okay? What do you see? Can't you two see it? It's right there. Can't you see it? All I can see is a normal display case. There's no one there, right? Angie, I don't know what's going on. Is that a dream? Magic? What could it be? Angie? Sakatara lifted his face towards Angie. From his eyes slid a single tear. Did Maria? Angie. I understand. One-chan and Beatrice. This is magic, isn't it? They're crying. End of chapter? What do they see? Oh, hell no. They're going to take us back to 1986, aren't they? All right. '86 Cliffhanger Central. What could Angie have seen in Nijima? Find out next time. Thank you all for hanging out. I hope you had fun tonight. I certainly did. It was a blast. Okay, so tomorrow's Friday. I got locals, so I'll be going to said locals. Messed up simply ending it there. Oh, but if I keep going, I'm going to be going for hours probably. Saturday. Long session. I don't think I'll be able to finish the game, but I know I'm in striking distance. What a cliffhanger. Thank you for the stream. Yes, thank you as always for hanging out. Saturday. I will be doing a long session. I'm talking like maybe 10 hours. Trying to see if we can get to the end of this game. I really want to see what happens, and I think it's really about to get good. It will be on YouTube. I wouldn't expect anybody to take all that time out of their Saturday, but if you want to stop in and out, absolutely stop by. The good news is about the YouTube stream is if you boot up the let's say I start at like 6. Let's say I start at 6 and you're like, oh, I didn't get in until 8. If you boot up the YouTube stream, you can just watch it from the beginning. You won't be able to interact, but you can watch it straight through if you desire. And you can watch it at a faster speed and catch up to where I'm at. That's actually the tech. If I'm streaming on YouTube, you can 1.5 times speed it to catch up, and then eventually you'll hit where I'm at. Yeah, so Saturday will be the next stream. It will be Umineko episode 4. It will be a longer stream for sure. I don't know if I'll make it 10 hours, but I want to try to get to the end of this, and I know we're somewhere in a striking distance of the end of the game. So yeah, looking forward to having y'all here. I'm gonna raid Owl. Let me do that. Where are we going? Whoa, I got a lot of people streaming on my list. Oh, Doobie streaming. Straight out to Doobie. Alright. Thanks, everybody. Be good to one another, make good choices, and I will see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.